by the president. What I don't like is the negativism from the media. Maybe they should volunteer to go help clean up instead of being so critical. And Hal in Conway, Arkansas. Bush and his minions have probably never been in the poorer parts of any American city. It's the greatest failure of the American political system that those with the greatest needs are the least likely to get it. And a note about calling Congress back. Wolf, you remember they ordered the feeding tube disconnected from Terry Schiavo? Congress returned to Washington on a Sunday night in order to pass some sort of a piece of legislation that was calling on them to reconnect the feeding tube. In a matter of hours, they came back on holiday. This hurricane happened on Monday. They may show up in Washington tomorrow, Friday, to work on a resolution to appropriate some money for these people in New Orleans. I guess it's all about what's important to you, isn't it?
Jack, thanks very much. We're going to check back with you. You got another question coming up in the next hour. In the next hour, beginning right now, happening now, a desperate SOS from New Orleans. The mayor specifically, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information from the battered Gulf Coast are coming in all at once and very dramatically. It's just after 3 p.m. in New Orleans, where thousands of people, tens of thousands of people want to get out right now. They want to get out of the cities, but they can't. The floodwaters are there, and there are deadly conditions, including snipers. And it keeps getting worse and worse. The governor now agrees thousands are probably dead. Armed and dangerous authorities in New Orleans are trying to crack down on looting and lawlessness, and people with guns are opening fire, including on ambulances leaving hospitals. Just after 4 p.m. here in Washington, President Bush has enlisted 2 former commanders-in-chief to try to help with hurricane relief as he prepares to go to the disaster zone himself tomorrow. Coming up, we'll hear from former Presidents Bush and Clinton. That's coming up this hour. I'm Wolf Blitzer, and you're in the Situation Room. Let's immediately head out to the New Orleans airport. CNN's Ed Lavandera is out there. He's watching some dramatic scenes unfold. Update our viewers, Ed, what's happening at the airport, why where you are is so critical.
Well, this is one of the main, let me back up a second. The New Orleans airport, the area around here is in rather good condition compared to the rest of the city. The airstrip the landing ways here are fine. The airport is functional, and that is why this has been set up as one of the main field hospitals for the emergency workers here. What we've seen behind me is a scene that continues to play itself out throughout the morning and the afternoon hours. Helicopters landing, dropping countless people off. I just spoke with one of the commanders a little while ago here at this field hospital, and he said he looked exhausted. I rolled in with him early Tuesday morning when we came here about 3 o'clock in the morning. The man hasn't slept since then. He said they are overwhelmed. They had no idea they were going to be handling this many people. It is quite a scene, and it was a scene that will continue to play itself out.
Ed, the stretchers that we saw there that were coming off, is there a hospital, an emergency medical facility that has been established at the airport?
Yeah, what has happened here at the airport is that 3 disaster medical assistance teams have set up here in the airport, and basically they have turned in this terminal of the airport into a field hospital. So just behind that wall that you see there are dozens of doctors and nurses' aides who have come here from around the country to help out in this situation. And that is where a lot of these people are being brought in, getting checked out. We've seen a lot of elderly, a lot of newborn babies, mothers from a maternity ward in a hospital that were all being shuffled out. In the process, after they come here, many of them are also being put on these military aircraft that you see behind me, or on other aircraft that have landed here and essentially being evacuated. Many of these people, when we came up and started talking to them, it was a desperate scene. Many of the people that I talked to wanted to desperately speak with me because they said we were trying to get the message out to their families and loved ones that they hadn't been able to speak with in 3 or 4 days to let them know they were okay. Essentially, these folks are getting on aircraft, going to cities where they have no idea where they're going to be going, much less trying to be able to figure out when they're going to be coming back. A very desperate situation, and the look on these people's eyes said everything.
And I want to show our viewers some pictures of a videotape that we're getting in just now from outside the Superdome in New Orleans, the Superdome where presumably about 20,000 people have been stranded now. They're trying to move these individuals from the Superdome. They're trying to move them over to the Astrodome in Houston. It's a difficult process. It's a long bus ride. You can see the individuals outside the Superdome. They've gathered outside. They presumably want to get some fresh air as well before they're able to get into those buses, if there are buses, enough buses to take them over to Houston, to the Astrodome, where many of them will be spending some time, because I guess people are not going to be allowed to come back to New Orleans until the situation is clean, without floodwater, without disease, and certainly until the situation is calm and controlled and the violence is down. Ed, if you're still there, give our viewers a sense of how many more people can be accommodated at that airport, at the emergency centers that have been established there. Unfortunately, we have just lost Ed Lavandera. We'll try to reconnect with him, and we'll bring him back. Over at the White House, President Bush earlier today announced that he's bringing in two big guns to try to help him, to try to help the American government, the American people, deal with the enormity of this tragedy that has developed in New Orleans, in Mississippi, in Alabama. He has asked his father, the first President Bush, to come in and help with private donations, as well as former President Bill Clinton. They made that announcement a little while ago, and they just sat down with our Suzanne Malveaux at the White House, President Clinton and the first President Bush, to offer these thoughts.
Presidents Bush, Clinton, thank you very much for joining us on CNN. I, like many Americans, have relatives in New Orleans who have had to flee. I know there are tens of thousands of refugees, and the President said today 90,000 square miles of disaster area. I have CNN colleagues who've been at the New Orleans Convention Center who say they have literally witnessed people die before their eyes at that facility. What is the President asking you to do, and what does he want Americans to do to help those in need?
Well, he's asking us to raise private sector money, whether it's corporate or individual. We are not in the operational business. We're not trying to tell somebody from FEMA how to do his job, or some governor how they ought to do the jobs. So we're raising money. We encourage people to give to the Red Cross or whatever else it may be. Their governors are each setting up a fund, hasn't been finalized yet, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. And we will be emphasizing, once those funds are set up, charitable funds, we will be emphasizing give to these funds, and then let the governors make and their staffs make the determination where the monies can best be used. So we're in the fundraising business, and as we were in the tsunami effort.
And Mr. Clinton, I understand that you were able to help raise $1 billion for tsunami relief. What do you see in the comparison here when you look at this disaster? How does it compare with the cost? And are you getting offers from the international community?
Well, first of all, it's a little different here because the work in the tsunami in those countries had to be paid for by both governments and international financial organizations, along with individual and corporate donors from America and around the world. Here, our government will cover most of the costs, but there will be untold millions of dollars that are desperately needed to sustain people who would otherwise fall between the cracks. 30% of the people in New Orleans alone live below the poverty line. And, you know, we've got problems in Biloxi, problems in Gulfport, problems all along the Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana coast. So we need private funds as well, even though the Congress and the President will do their part and come up with a lot of money. So that's the first thing. Will there be international help? I think there might be in surprising places. The Europeans have told the President, he told us that they would provide some refined petroleum products to try to help ease the gasoline prices. A really kind gesture. But the ambassador from Sri Lanka has offered to coordinate the tsunami countries in trying to raise some money to help people, because even though they're very poor countries and they're still in the throes of their own difficulties, they know that a lot of these people that are really hurting now are quite poor, and they want to help. So it's been very touching. I imagine we'll get some help from around the world as well.
And let's talk about gas prices, because obviously they've gone through the roof. And the President, of course, today said he is issuing some waivers to help oil shipment become easier, and he's also tapping the petroleum oil reserve. So some people are calling for a cap on gas prices. Is that appropriate?
I think it's a matter for the government to decide. I don't have a view what I think about it. I don't know enough about it.
Do you
Well,
agree?
let me say, first of all, I agree with what he's done to suspend the impact of the so-called Jones Act and let the foreign ships deliver the fuel now because we don't have enough domestic ships. I agree with releasing the petroleum reserve. I think we ought to make sure there's no price gouging. Whether there should be a cap or not, that's really a supply and demand question. You know, if you think there's no other way to keep excessive prices from being charged, and you believe there's enough fuel to go around, then a cap might be appropriate for a very limited time. It won't work for very long. It might work for a limited time. But if there's not enough fuel and you put a cap on, then what you might do is just drop the supply even quicker and impose even greater hardship on people. So I think that, you know, that's a decision, as President Bush said, that's a decision we don't have to make anymore, and I'm kind of glad we don't. But at least those are the factors I think that should be considered.
I think the president is probably opposed to price controls. Now, maybe there's some exception, but I know I am, and as President Clinton's indicated he is.
Let me ask you this. There are some people at the New Orleans Convention Center who say that they have been living like animals. No food, no water, no power. And they are the ones who are saying, where are the buses? Where are the planes? Why did it take 3 days to see a real federal response here? Mr. Bush, you, whether it's fair or not, had gone through some administration criticism about your handling of Hurricane Andrew.
I sure did.
Do you believe that this is legitimate?
Yes, I do. What happened, we all side with, not legitimate. I believe that they ought not to be as upset, but I can understand why they are. We thought, a lot of people thought, that when the hurricane went to the right a little bit, New Orleans was going to be spared. And it was only the next day that this, you know, the horrible problems with the levee. But look, if I were sitting there with no shower, no ability to use bathroom facilities, worried about my family, not knowing where they were, I'd blame anybody.
But do you think
so
this
you have to expect
administration
that.
responded quickly enough?
Well, let me answer this a minute. The people in the Superdome are in a special position. And let me say, I've been going to New Orleans for over 50 years. There's no place on earth I love more. They went into the Superdome not because of the flooding, but because we thought the hurricane was going to hit New Orleans smack dab, and they'd be safe in there if they didn't leave town. What happened was when the levee broke and the town flooded, what did it do? It knocked out the electricity and it knocked out the sewage. They're living in hellacious conditions. They'd be better off under a tree than being stuck there. You can't even breathe in that place now. So I understand why they're so anxiety-ridden, but they have to understand, by the time it became obvious that they were in the fix they were in, there were a lot of other problems too. There were people threatening, they were worried about people drowning that had to be taken off roofs.
So you two believe that the federal response was fast enough?
All I'm saying is what I know the facts are today. There are hundreds of buses now engaged in the act of taking people from New Orleans to the Astrodome in Houston. And you and I are not in a position to make any judgment because we weren't there. All I'm saying is the way they got stuck there, I see why they feel the way they do, but the people that put them there did it because they thought they were saving their lives, and then when the problems showed up, they had a whole lot of other people to save. Now they got hundreds of buses. We just need to get them out. I think they'll all be out by tomorrow. Didn't they say they'd all be out by tomorrow morning?
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry we've run out of time, but thank you.
I just want to finish. I believe the administration is doing the right thing, and I believe they have acted in a timely fashion. And I understand the people being critical. That happens all the time. And I understand some people wanting to make, you know, a little difficulty by criticizing the president and the team. But I don't want to sit here and not defend the administration, which in my view has taken all the right steps. And they're facing problems that nobody could foresee. Breaking of the levees and the whole dome thing over in New Orleans coming apart. People couldn't foresee that.
Yeah, I think that's important to point out, because when you say, well, they should have done this, that, or the other thing first, you can look at that problem in isolation, and you can say that. But look at all the other things they had to deal with. I'm telling you, nobody thought this was going to happen like this. That what happened here is they escaped, New Orleans escaped Katrina, but it ran
Right.
all the water up the Mississippi River and all in the Park. And then when it started running out and that levee broke, they had problems they never could have foreseen. And so I just think that we need to recognize right now there's a competent effort underway. People are doing the best they can. And I just don't think that it's the time to worry about that. We need to keep people alive and get them back to get life.
Well, good luck.
Normal life.
Good luck to both of you on
That's
this
what we're
mission.
gonna try to do.
Thank you very much, Presidents Bush and Clinton. Thanks
I
again.
know.
Our Suzanne Malveaux speaking with the two former presidents over at the White House just a few moments ago. They have responded to a request from the current President Bush to go ahead and try to raise funds from private sources. Millions of dollars are going to be needed, billions of dollars actually, to go ahead and deal with this enormous crisis that has unfolded not only in New Orleans, but Mississippi and Alabama as well. CNN's Chris Lawrence is in New Orleans. He's on the scene for us. Where are you, Chris, right now? Chris Lawrence, it's Wolf in Washington. Can you hear me? We're going to try to reconnect with Chris Lawrence. I believe he's on Canal Street in the French Quarter. We'll get back to Chris Lawrence as soon as we can connect with him. Deborah Farrick is covering the story for us. She's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, over where FEMA and others have established their headquarters. Deb, what are you hearing? What are authorities saying to you now? Because we are getting eyewitness accounts saying that FEMA officials, the National Guard, local police, they're missing in action. They may be on the way in big numbers, but they're not very visible in critical parts of New Orleans right now. What are they telling you?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Will, because there really seems to be a disconnect between the kind of information that's coming out from reporters who are actually there witnessing things happening and the officials here at the FEMA Command Center. The question that no one can answer is why are there no armed convoys or helicopters bringing food and water into the people who need it most, the people at the Superdome, the people at the Convention Center, the people at the hospitals where there are actual helipads on the rooftops. The National Guardsman says that they are trying to get trucks of food out as fast as they can, but no one can answer why no one on the ground, the people who need it most, seem to be getting it. There's a lot of activity here. You can hear that there have been helicopters landing all day. Those are some of the helicopters that are bringing in high-level officials. One of them, Lieutenant General Honoré. The government right now really focused on restoring order to the city of New Orleans. The governor has asked for as much help as she can get in terms of uniformed personnel. They are bringing in 200 military police officers. The governor says they are in New Orleans now. She says there are going to be hundreds more on the way, 250 police officers from across the country. They're going to have authority within New Orleans, also 12,000 National Guardsmen. They're not here yet. They are being mobilized. Why the delay? Nobody can answer that. They're saying this storm happened so quickly, the devastation so great that they're trying to get all of their sort of ducks in a row so that they can bring in everybody and then mobilize them to the areas that need them the most. The governor
Deb, I'm going to interrupt for a second, Deb. I want our viewers to look at this picture. This is another rescue operation that's underway. We can see this rescue worker in this harness going up into this U.S. Coast Guard helicopter. I just want our viewers to know this is new videotape coming in. They're clearly going around the area. They're looking at the rooftops. There are still many, many people who are stranded. They can't get out of their homes. They can't walk any place, A, because it's too flooded, B, because it's disease-ridden, many of those waters, and C, because it's getting very ugly and violent in many parts of New Orleans. I'm going to get back to Deb Farrick in a moment, but Chris Lawrence is there on the scene. I believe you can hear me now, Chris, can you? Chris, can you hear me? It's Wolf. Chris, we're having a little trouble getting connected with Chris Lawrence. He's in the French Quarter of New Orleans. This is all understandable. This is very, very difficult to connect with anyone in the New Orleans area. The communications capabilities clearly crippled by the enormity of the aftermath of this storm. I interrupted you, Deb Farrick, but give us a final thought before I let you go.
Well, the final thought is the governor has no idea how many people are trapped within New Orleans. The governor has no idea how many people will ultimately be dead from this tragedy. They're simply trying to get buses in, but first priority, simply restore order so that people who can go in and rescue can do their jobs. One state senator said, you can't very well rescue people when they're shooting at you. Wolf?
All right, Deb, we'll check back with you. Thanks very much. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to continue our extensive coverage, the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. It's getting ugly, very, very ugly, and it's getting worse by the moment in New Orleans. We're going to continue our coverage there. Chris Lawrence, hopefully we'll connect with him when we come back. We'll also check in with Jack Cafferty. We'll take a quick break.
Every home has a rhythm of its own. And now, finally, there's an air freshener that's in tune with it. Introducing new Airwick Freshmatic, an automatic spray you simply set at intervals of 9, 18, or 36 minutes. It delivers wonderful bursts of fragrance that keep your home smelling fresh for up to 2 months. New Airwick Freshmatic. Set it to the rhythm of your home.
This summer, go to Priceline for the best deals on airfare. Name your own price and save up to $100 off other leading travel sites on each ticket you buy. That's it. Only at the new Priceline.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
You need control of your sales materials so your field staff from coast to coast can order the current documents online. From printing to online document management, turn to PIP to turn down the stress. PIP, easing the pain of business.
Thinking of an MBA? Join us on the World MBA Tour, coming to a city near you. Register now at topmba.com.
Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield, and we'll give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's Restaurants, where you'll enjoy great food and delicious pies all day, every day. And we offer free mobile service to your home or office. So for the highest quality windshields and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. And remember, when you think glass, think Empire.
Check out the new hit movies you can order on demand. And look what you can order right now.
I got nobody but you, Frankie.
Well, you've got me. $1 Million Baby is the Academy Award winner for Best Picture of the Year. And it's available now, on demand.
Something's coming. I can feel it.
With On Demand, you can watch Constantine whenever you feel like it. Order now and keep it for 24 hours.
Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
Latest on Katrina recovery efforts, plus first-hand refugee accounts. Larry King, 9 Eastern. CNN, your hurricane headquarters.
Welcome back. We're continuing our coverage of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. The aircraft carrier Harry S. Truman, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, getting ready to leave Norfolk, Virginia, to make the journey to to New Orleans. Could take 5-6 days. An aircraft carrier will be in the port of New Orleans to try to help out with this situation. 5-6 days. Let's bring in our Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre. Jamie, I assume it could take 5-6 days for the Harry S. Truman to make its way from Virginia to Louisiana. Is that about right?
That's right, and when it gets there, it's going to serve as a floating command post and also a staging area for helicopters. They still have a great need for helicopters. You know, one of the things we keep asking the Pentagon officials all day today, they keep telling us about all these troops that are going, and we've been reporting about the increase in the number of security forces. There'll be, by next week, there'll be 7,000 military police in New Orleans, or in Louisiana, many of those in New Orleans. But where are they? I've just been told that there is a flight of 100 military police reserve guard troops who are going to arrive on a C-130, 2 C-130s at the airport at 10 o'clock tonight. Now, I'm told that when they get off the plane, they're going to be combat ready. That is, they're going to be ready to go to work right away as soon as they get on the plane. But we keep asking, you know, where are the 1,400 troops that are supposed to be going in today? Where are they? And they keep telling us they're on the way. Now, it's kind of a startling admission today from General Honore, who was the military commander in charge of all this, when we asked him, why has the response taken so long? He simply admitted that they failed to take into account the worst-case scenario. He said in all the brainstorming before this, all the collaboration, nobody, as he said, was clairvoyant enough, those were his words, to forecast this amount of danger. So now they've been catching up, and you can see that it's been extremely difficult on the people there because they're just not seeing the troops on the ground. Even though, when this is all said and done, by next week there'll probably be 50,000 U.S. troops involved in this operation. But right now, it's hard to see evidence of that.
And we're getting those eyewitness accounts from our own reporters and producers on the scene who say that they're looking for the National Guard, they're looking for military personnel at critical locations, including the convention center, where there's about 20,000 people that are trapped, and the mayor has just issued a desperate SOS saying, get out, walk out, do the best you can, because they're so strapped right now.
And, you know, Wolf, the question that we can't get a good answer to is why are these troops that are supposed to be pouring in today and tomorrow, why weren't they pouring in yesterday and the day before? What has been the delay? Has it been because officials didn't ask for them? Did they not anticipate the requests enough? Did they simply didn't move fast enough? We just have not been able to get a straight answer to that question.
Jamie, if you can see, camera, I want to show our viewers these pictures. These are pictures just coming in to CNN. Maybe we could go wide and show this on the full screen. There they are right now. Look at this. These are people who are wading through water above their waist, almost up to their shoulders. Sometimes they're trying to get through an area with whatever meager possessions they might have and try to get to some sort of safe situation. We see this picture unfolding over and over and over again. So the bottom line, Jamie McIntyre at the Pentagon, the National Guard is on the way. Thousands of troops are coming, but it's still going to take some time before they're in place.
And Wolf, if there was a perfect response to this storm, there would still be a lot of people who had suffered a terrible tragedy. But it's really hard to make the case that this is anything close to a perfect response. In fact, I think there's going to be a lot of second-guessing and going back, trying to figure out how things could have done better, because clearly what this response, as good as it is, and the effort being made by all the military on the ground and all the other people, it is not up to the task of relieving the suffering of hundreds, perhaps thousands of people who are really in dire straits.
All right, Jamie McIntyre at the Pentagon, thank you very much. Let's bring in our Jack Cafferty. He's in New York. Jack, you know, it's pretty startling, because I remember when the Hurricane Katrina last Thursday, exactly a week ago, when it hit South Florida, the Fort Lauderdale area and Miami, we saw some of the flooding. It was at a Category 1, and there was some serious flooding in South Florida. We don't want to belittle that by any means, about 75 miles an hour. But within minutes after leaving South Florida, on this program, we heard Max Mayfield and Ed Rappaport of the National Hurricane Center. This hurricane was going to pick up speed as it goes over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, and they immediately began pointing towards New Orleans. This is on Friday and Saturday, saying, you know, it could make a direct hit on New Orleans, and it picked up, became a Category 5 with winds of about 150 miles an hour, slowed down a little bit by the time it hit Monday morning, a Category 4 with the winds of about 140 miles an hour. But as you and I know, there have been articles in scientific publications and in newspapers for many years suggesting that the levees, the systems, the flood walls in New Orleans were simply not capable of surviving anything more than a Category 3 hurricane. So to say that this should have been a huge surprise to a lot of individuals is to ignore a lot of scientific literature that said exactly this. This is the worst case, and it could happen.
It could happen, and with a couple of days' notice, as you suggested, it was taking shape and drawing a bead on the city, and we knew it was coming. And yet, the poorest and the neediest and the most helpless of those in New Orleans, well, they're still there, aren't they? Despite the many angles of this tragedy, and Lord knows there have been a lot of them in New Orleans, there is a great big elephant in the living room that the media seems content to ignore. That would be until now. Slate.com's Jack Schaefer wrote today in his column that television coverage has shied away from talking about race and class. Schaefer says that we in the media are ignoring the fact that almost all of the victims in New Orleans are black and poor. And he's right. Almost every person we've seen, from the families stranded on their rooftops waiting to be rescued to the looters to the people holed up in the Superdome are black and poor. Many of them didn't follow the evacuation orders because they didn't have the means to get out of town. They just couldn't do it. A lot of them were sick. A lot of them don't have cars. A lot of them just didn't have the means to leave the Big Easy. And they're still there. So here's the question. What role have race and class played in the Gulf Coast crisis? You tell us. Cafferty File, one word, CNN.com. Wolf, we got something like 7,500 letters in the first hour of the program today. I thought we got a lot yesterday. We got about 6,000 letters over the course of 3 hours yesterday. 7,500 emails poured in the first hour. One of them suggested I could be tied up in IRS audits for years after the things I said about the federal government in the first hour.
That's all right. You had nothing to hide, Jack.
Okay. Well,
all right, Jack Cafferty. I want to show our viewers some pictures that are just coming in. We're getting multiple feeds. These are pictures, live pictures you're seeing over here from the airport, New Orleans airport, individuals being brought in by helicopters or planes. They've got an emergency medical facility underway right now, and New Orleans airport has become a major source of attention. These pictures over here, look at this. Individuals continuing to do what we've been seeing for days now, simply walking through the water. We have to assume it's disgusting water and rapidly becoming disease-filled water, just trying to get to some location with what meager possession they have. We see that picture over and over and over again. As much as you see that picture, though, you simply get chills every time you see these poor individuals. As Jack Cafferty just pointed out, so tragically, so many of these people, almost all of them that we see, are so poor and they are so black, and this is going to raise lots of questions for people who are watching this story unfold. We'll take a quick break. More of our special coverage right after this.
My view on prescriptions has always been, honey, if you need it, take it. But lately, I wonder, do we always need a prescription? Like for my arthritis pain, is a prescription so much better than anything else? So I talked to my doctor. It turns out that I could take something that works just as well as prescription ibuprofen, but with fewer risks.
Tylenol arthritis pain is different. It works as well as prescription ibuprofen, and used as directed, no other pain reliever is safer.
The GMC Yukon has the best V8 fuel economy in its class. Because GMC engineering is all about going the extra mile. Literally, the GMC employee discount has been extended on 2005s and now includes every 2006 Yukon. Get an 05 Yukon two-wheel drive SLE for $28,687 with your employee discount. The total value promise makes it easy. No worries, no hassles, it's right on the window. See your GMC dealers today.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Do you use inhalers? Med4Home delivers rescue inhalers to seniors at a low price. And if you qualify, Medicare may cover similar inhaler medication in liquid form.
Don't be afraid to take your next breath.
Call Med4Home now at 1-800-292-4564 for your low-cost, effective solution.
Let us do the Medicare paperwork for you. Pharmacy consultants are standing by to talk to you.
For all the hours spent away from your own family, making others feel like family, we exist to serve you. TIAA-CREF, serving the lifelong financial needs of those in the academic, medical, cultural, and research fields. Visit us online to find out how we can serve you. TIAA-CREF, financial services for the greater good.
Hey, toilet here. Yes. Thank you. Please stop the running. Not just the old handle jiggle. It's the oldest trick in the book. Still running. Running like a guy who runs a lot.
And verify
Tim,
that the amount being
you got a broken toilet on line 2? Please pick up.
And then remove all the water from the tank. Don't tighten the screw too tight or you'll crack the porcelain.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim. And don't forget to fix that chair.
Ace, the helpful place.
Along Mississippi's Gulf Coast, conditions may not be as desperate as they are right now in New Orleans, but make no mistake about it, people are in dire straits there as well. Let's check in with CNN's Randy Kay. She's in Biloxi, Mississippi. Randy, what's going on?
Well, Wolf, so far here we haven't seen the dangerous situation that they're experiencing over there in New Orleans. In fact, the National Guard is in place here, and they are actually now in charge of security in the Biloxi area where we are. We're right where Highway 90 used to be in the Biloxi area. They've taken over security from the local authorities who have actually lost homes and some family members on their own, so it's giving them some time to take care of their own personal things. I just want to show you here still many things just out and about that just don't belong right where they are. This is actually a piece of the I-10 bridge that I'm standing on. If you look all the way out in the distance there, if you can make it out, that's how far this piece of the bridge came. And right here, you can see this is a trailer that obviously isn't meant to be right here. Giant piece of equipment. This is one very strong hurricane. Here's a door. This door, I'm told, belonged to a pawn shop, which used to be over there in the distance. Now, we had a lot of time to find the people who are familiar with these items, and we found them. This is Bridget Segovia and her son, Aaron Johnson, and they actually know where these items come from because you were actually you knew the pawn shop owner. Now, tell me what you've lost in this store.
The Lighthouse snowball stand that used to sit here in the back, and it's no longer there.
So you had a snow cone stand that was way out there on the beach, and it's completely gone.
We grilled burgers. We made snow cones for the beach. It's been here 15 years, and it's now no longer here.
And Bridget, you just moved here, didn't you?
Yes, from Amarillo, Texas. It's my first hurricane.
And you moved here about 6 months ago, so you were never expecting something like this.
No.
And what was your reaction when you came out here after the storm and you saw that your whole business was gone?
At first, I was in shock, and then I just broke down crying. I have no job. Everything's just a mess.
And you had moved here to help save some money, hadn't you?
Yes. We stopped here temporarily, and then we were moving on.
And I want to talk to your son, Aaron, here. Aaron, I know you had a little business out there on the beach as well, which is now destroyed. Tell me about that.
Yes, ma'am. It was the Skies and Skis rental over here on the beach. I worked there for 6 months during school, after school started. I worked there, and now since the hurricane came, now I ain't got a job, and that's about it so far.
It's pretty tough to see, just these businesses just completely wiped out. That used to be there one day, gone the next. I know you even found the key to the tractor here somewhere, just sitting around. So you never know what you're going to find here along the beach. Unfortunately, your businesses are both gone. Wolf, lots of stories like that out here.
I assume there are many, many more, unfortunately. Randy, thank you very much. Randy Kay watching for us in Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi. Specifically, here in Washington, members of Congress have decided to follow President Bush's lead, cut short their vacations to address the crisis along the Gulf Coast. Let's turn to our congressional correspondent, Joe Johns. Joe, what are they doing?
Well, a bit of a controversy developing here on Capitol Hill, even though the Congress is out of session, quite frankly. As you know, Wolf, number one, the Senate of the United States coming in this evening, the House of Representatives coming in tomorrow to try to pass some type of bill to keep the FEMA operating. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House has come under attack for some statements he made in a suburban Chicago newspaper relating to the long-term development of New Orleans. He was asked at an editorial board meeting of the Daily Herald newspaper whether billions of federal dollars should be sunk into New Orleans and rebuilding it. He said, quote, "It doesn't make sense to me." Hastert also said, "It's a question that certainly we should ask." He also said in that interview that a lot of the place looks like it ought to be bulldozed. Now, we did ask his spokesman about those statements. His spokesman said the Speaker is talking about rebuilding New Orleans in a way that protects the citizens. Also, he says the Speaker is not advocating that the city, in fact, be relocated. He believes New Orleans should be rebuilt in a way that protects its citizens from dangers like Hurricane Katrina, and therefore it should not be done in the same way it's built now. So a lot of stuff going on here on Capitol Hill, Wolf. Even though the Congress is still out of session, they are expected to come back into session tonight and tomorrow to deal with FEMA. Back to you.
But they're going to come back in the next few days and pass, an emergency supplemental of, $10 billion?
That's what people are talking about. However, we're not real firm on that number. There was a conference call around 3:30 Eastern Time involving officials from the administration, also top leaders in the House and Senate, to try to come to some agreement on the final number. We were told originally that $10 billion would be needed to keep FEMA operating just for a while. Some suggestion that FEMA is spending money at a rate of $500 million a day, and some concern that they have to do something before the Congress is scheduled to formally come back into session, of course, on Tuesday. Tonight and tomorrow, assuming all of this goes forward as is expected, we are hearing it would probably involve very few members of Congress in the House and Senate, only those people necessary to try to deem it through in the Senate, get it passed in the House of Representatives, and try to do it in the quickest way possible with so many members of Congress all over the country and even the world, Wolf.
All right, thanks very much, Joe Johns. I suspect the Speaker, Dennis Hastert's going to have some explaining to do if, in fact, he was quoted accurately in that suburban newspaper. Look at this picture that we're getting. These are live pictures, courtesy of our affiliate WAVY in Norfolk, Virginia. The U.S. aircraft carrier Harry S. Truman leaving Norfolk, making a 5-6 day journey to New Orleans to be on station as a command post to deal with this emerging situation underway that is underway right now. Let's go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Michael Brown, the FEMA director, the Federal Emergency Management Agency director, speaking up.
We had to temporarily this morning withdraw some of the National Disaster Medical teams after the shot was fired that you all have heard about. But I want to assure the American public that that did not stop operations in terms of rescue or life-saving efforts. The choppers continued to do their work. They simply shifted from moving patients to doing rescue. Not once did those choppers stop doing what they were supposed to be doing. That's their mission, and they will continue to do that. We got about, I forget how many pallets, but we had well over 3 dozen pallets of food and water delivered last night. The state has requested 5 trailer loads of MREs and water to be delivered today. Those are en route. There was plenty of food to feed last night in the Superdome. There is plenty of food to feed this morning, and there will be plenty of food to feed this evening. So any reports to the contrary are just incorrect. We are aware of the situation in the convention center. There are approximately 5,000 people in the convention center, and food and water is being delivered to them also. We're continuing the same type of efforts in Mississippi and Alabama. As I said in the first briefing, the president has said that every idea is on the table. So we're looking at such things as we're going to have cruise ships to house both victims and the workers. We don't want disaster workers necessarily taking away hotel rooms or any other facilities that people have decided to move into and stay in those places because they have no other place to go. So we're doing that. General Honore has been working incredibly closely with FEMA and doing all the civil support stuff that we've asked him to do. I just want to say publicly that the Army has done an incredible job of fulfilling every mission that we have given to them. The General will talk more about this, but the number of Guard troops are continuing to increase exponentially. He has specific figures that he can give you, but I can tell you that number continues to grow. And there is not an area that does not at this point have Guard support or security forces in place. My own staff, who was at the convention center, described last night 2 large helicopters landing, and some of the biggest, burliest men and women that they have to protect those folks in the Superdome did land, and it had a very calming effect. I think it's incumbent upon us to report accurately what is going on in terms of the Superdome and in terms of the convention center. Those people are listening very carefully. They want our help. We're providing that help to them, and I think it just behooves us to be as honest and forthright as we can with them, as I'm trying to be with you. So with that, General, do you want to make a few comments about some of the operational status, and then I'd be happy to take a few questions.
Yes, from a military perspective, we continue to deploy National Guard troops to the state of Louisiana and Mississippi to work the security and evacuation, as well as the search and rescue. As of last evening in Louisiana, we had approximately 4,700 National Guardsmen. Those were troops from Louisiana. By the end of the day, we will have a total of approximately 7,400 National Guardsmen working in Louisiana. And in Mississippi, last evening we had approximately 2,700 National Guardsmen, and by this evening we will have approximately 6,000. That number will grow over the next 3 days to approximately 12,000 troops in Louisiana and Mississippi or through the evening of the 4th. That is a tremendous logistics effort to move those troops, because until you get to the disaster area, you have a problem. You have to get into the area, and the roads in many places and the locations we have to go is restricted because of damage from the storm. The storm had a vote in that the water created a specific issue in New Orleans that is specific to New Orleans, and is a disaster that created a concentration of people in a large number seeking high ground, and another dispersion of people in New Orleans who sought the highest part of the building they were in. That has created significant effort in an urban environment for search and rescue. Conversely, in Mississippi, we have the same challenge, but it's over a more dispersed area, from the coast of Mississippi all the way up to Interstate 20. That's a significant drive, if those of you have gone through that, as well as from east to west, almost from the western border of Mississippi to the eastern border is basically destroyed a mile to 2 in. Buildings are destroyed, infrastructure is destroyed. From the southern part of Mississippi all the way up to Jackson and Meridian, there's no telephone service and no electricity per se. So the area in Mississippi, the population is more dispersed, which create a challenge for distribution, and we can have the primary roads open in Mississippi. The secondary roads and farm roads where people live create a challenge for the same opposite of the challenge in New Orleans, which is an urban environment, is multiplied in a rural environment to find the people and get food and water to them. And we're building capacity to a tune of about 200 helicopters we have that are available or will be in service in the next 12 to 24 hours. From the Navy, we have a aircraft carrier en route. From the Marine, we have a MUARG with significant helicopter and command and control capability. And we have the Baton off the coast of Mississippi at this time. She's refueling and filling her stores, and it will operate south of Biloxi in support of Mississippi in the open water areas to push supplies, as well as to help in command and control of the significant number of helicopters. The United States Air Force, a part of our JTF, will set the air coordination and control and run the strategic lift aspect. The United States Coast Guard has done a magnificent job starting small from that first person you saw evacuated by helicopter to operating 50 to 60 helicopters continuously in New Orleans and off the coast of Mississippi doing search and rescue. And that's what they continue to do, as well as the support we've gotten from the United States Army in the way of helicopters and communications capability that will enable us to adequately control these forces and to sustain them over time. So all of the services are actively engaged, and we are working in support of the National Guard under the priorities that are set by Director Brown and the governor of Mississippi and Louisiana. That's basically what we're doing now. We every day, while the situation for the people who are stranded becomes more intolerable, we are building a capacity to address that by evacuation and to get them to a more safe and secure environment. And it's a challenge, and we're trying to meet that as best we can. But again, the weather has a vote, and the dispersion of the people and the concentration of the people in an urban environment create a challenge. And we're trying to work to that, using military assets in support of the first responders and the city and counties and parishes to address those issues. And it's a challenge, but our ability continues to get better every day.
The soldiers in New Orleans, what orders are they under when they encounter some sort of law-breaking or violence?
Those soldiers are operating under state law, under the control of the governor of the respective state. And they are empowered to conduct law enforcement and apprehensions as they do their job. Those soldiers are National Guard soldiers under the direct control of the governor.
Can you talk to us about air operations, about airlifting food into those areas and water, things that are going to become critical as time goes on?
Yeah, the initial challenge for airlift, strategic airlift, I assume you're talking about, fixed wing airlift, was to get the airports open, free of debris. You know, last night was 72 hours. I stopped counting after that. To get those airports open was a significant challenge with trash. At the Biloxi Gulfport Airport, there was debris from the coast that was pushed in there with that 28 to 30 feet of water that created a problem. Then we had to put power in it. The good news is last night, power was on at Biloxi Gulfport. Power was on and is coming up in the New Orleans airport, the two significant ones. Power is on at Keesler as of yesterday. It is critical to bring in resupply by air if we like to use that mode. The rail system is starting to come back, and the airport will give other options for resupply as well as for evacuation.
What kind of military personnel is coming into Baton Rouge to protect the Baton Rouge community?
I'm sorry?
What kind of military personnel are you expecting to come into Baton Rouge to protect the Baton Rouge community?
Protect them from what?
All the extra population. There's a lot of concern in the Baton Rouge community.
I see. Well, I don't have total visibility on that, but places where we are concentrating the population, our fellow Americans, in conjunction with the local law enforcement and the National Guard, we are establishing security there for those people.
General, the governor is asked for up to 40,000 federal troops. Are y'all in a position to turn that many loose in Louisiana for security, search and rescue?
I just spoke with the governor, and I think the point we were making is that it could be up to 40,000 National Guard troops that are doing direct security and assistance mission, and we will commit whatever is requested to do the DOD portion of that. Most of that is enabling capabilities, strategic air, helicopters, ships that will help enable the National Guard and the first responders and the county and city governments to establish distribution as well as to establish ways to disperse the people and to take care of them.
And if you do the calculations that the general just gave you, we get up to in excess of 30,000 troops that are going to be available. And the governor said that's going to satisfy the need that she has. And that's our job, is to satisfy the demands that the state gives us. So if the number was 40,000 and the governor's happy with 30,000, that's what she will get.
Mr. Brown, there's been a lot of criticism of the way that FEMA has been handling this crisis initially, especially from some of your own people within New Orleans. In Jefferson Parish, your emergency management director, Walter Maestri, said supplies are disappearing within hours, and we are begging and pleading for help. In New Orleans, the Homeland Security Director there, Terry Ebert, said FEMA's response is a national disgrace that is falls short of what's needed. He said we can send supplies to tsunami victims, but we can't bail out the city of New Orleans. Your response to that, sir?
The men and women of FEMA, the Army, the Coast Guard, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, Department of Transportation, Health and Human Services, the Public Health Service, the Environmental Protection Agency, all 22 departments and agencies within DHS, all 28 that make up the emergency support functions are doing every single thing that they can and meeting every single request. We have to recognize that this is an ongoing disaster, that we continue to meet the needs as they are communicated to us through the state. We continue to make available pallets, truckloads, helicopter loads, whatever they need that they convey to us, we get to them. I think everyone in the country needs to take a big collective deep breath and recognize that there are a lot of people in this state, in Mississippi and Alabama, who are living under conditions that, quite frankly, I doubt any reporter in this room is living under. No food, no water, it's hot, it's sticky, their homes have been destroyed, they don't know where they're going to go next. And so the job of FEMA and the Army, the Department of Homeland Security, is to get them as much aid to them as quickly as possible and to every single person that we can. This is an ongoing disaster. This disaster did not end the day that Katrina made landfall. We had pre-positioned men, equipment, supplies, truckloads, caravans, the search and rescue teams, all of those, to move in as soon as it was safe to do so. And if you think about New Orleans, we were ready to move in as soon as Katrina moved out. What happened is you suddenly had breaches, and you could not put rescue people in there because of the ongoing disaster. We'll continue to meet every need that the state puts upon us. I understand when an emergency manager or a Homeland Security advisor out in a parish or a county somewhere gets frustrated because someone tells him that that truckload of food is going to be there at noon, and because they head down some road that they find flooded, or they head down some road that suddenly there's down power lines, that it gets there at 4 o'clock instead. And so I understand exactly that gets reported in the media as a frustration. But what the American people need to understand is that the full force of the federal government is bringing all of those supplies in an unprecedented effort that has not been seen even in the tsunami region. And I will tell you, I speak from firsthand experience because I was in the tsunami region. And this response is incredibly more efficient, more effective, and under the most difficult circumstances. Because if you think about the tsunami, it came and went. This disaster continued and continued growing, particularly in New Orleans.
Would it be better if you don't have so many soldiers and guardsmen here in Iraq? Will be a response quicker? Are you missing these people who are gone?
We have every single resource that we need from the Army, and the Army has not expressed to me any reservation about providing what I need. So Iraq has no bearing whatsoever on what we're doing in New Orleans, Mississippi, or Alabama.
Why did it take 2.5 days to start airlifting people out of big charity hospitals? 2.5 days after they first requested evacuation?
Well, there are several reasons. First and foremost, you have to get the patients ready. You cannot just go in and start taking critically ill patients out and put them in a sling and put them in a helicopter and just start delivering them from one place to another. The hospital has to begin preparing those patients. Once you do that, you have to locate hospitals where they're able to take the patients for the particular need that they have. If you have cardiac patients, they have to go where a cardiac bed is available. And so once that need comes in and is identified to us, we begin to immediately identify how can we meet that resource request, and what's the capability that we need to get that done. And so that is something that just takes time. You know, I could call from my house and say I need a case of MREs and 6 cases of water. That has to be transmitted to somebody and has to be transported to somebody, and that does not occur instantaneously. That takes time. And I think the American people recognize that, and that the response that's occurring is actually a very efficient and quick response under these circumstances.
Director Brown,
yes. I was just getting briefed by our thanks, General. I was just getting briefed by our DMOR team as this press briefing started. They have established a staging area. Don't quote me. It was St. Gabriel. St. Gabriel. Thank you. And so they have started that process. Those teams are now in place and working.
How many teams do you have?
There are 6 teams now, but I'll confirm that number.
Director Brown, can you tell us how you see the security situation, especially compared to yesterday or the day before? A lot of people come in and said, the reporting is not giving the full picture. How is it as you see it, and how quickly do you think it can improve?
In terms of the security?
Yeah.
I actually think the security is pretty darn good. I think that what you have is, if you step back and you take a broad perspective of what's going on, yeah, there's some really bad people out there that are causing some problems. And it seems to me that every time a bad person wants to scream or cause a problem, there's somebody there with a camera to stick it in their face. What they don't see is that mother in the other part of the room that's sitting there very quietly, that is not engaging in that is being patient, that understands, is getting in the line, getting on the bus, and being evacuated. And so I think the security situation is much better. And as the general just explained, as we continue to exponentially increase those security forces, it will just improve and continue to get better and better as the days go by.
Do your DMOR teams have any casualties on
No, they do not. That's not been reported to me, so I'm not going to comment on. Again, that's what gets started. Is there have been reports of, and so until I actually get a report from my teams that say we have bodies located here or there, I'm just not going to speculate. Are we going to set up a morgue? Yes, we will. That's what the teams are doing. The teams are setting up. You have to deal with these bodies with respect, and you have to have a distribution system to take care of them so that we can track them, care for them properly, get them properly secured. You do that in one location by the DMOR team, and then they go to a central location where they can continue to be tagged and hopefully delivered to their loved ones.
So will that be in St. Gabriel?
That, I was just getting briefed, and I think that was going to be the final point for taking the bodies. But we'll confirm that and make sure.
So for how many are you all preparing?
As many as we need to.
You indicated, yes, you have the numbers today. That's the point. Do you have any numbers?
We do not have. We do not have numbers. We will continue, and you can chuckle about that as much as you want to, but we are continuing to focus on life-saving and life-sustaining efforts. And I think the story that you need to report is that we are out there doing rescue missions, and we are out there making certain that the food and the water, the meals ready to eat are being delivered to the people that need it. And we will ramp up our process so we can start spitting out the numbers for you as quickly as possible. But right now, our focus is doing in life-saving and life-sustaining efforts.
Don't these bodies in the streets within a health hazard, can't they be picked up, scooped up, delivered, and put on ice to prevent widespread outbreak of disease?
Well, first of all, you jump to the assumption that it will cause a widespread outbreak of disease, and that is not necessarily true. And second of all, we will continue to deal with that problem as best we can.
Do we know how many people actually need to be rescued in the city of New Orleans?
No, we do not. It is absolutely a fascinating dynamic because as we move people out of the Superdome, people begin to move in. As we begin to establish points of pickup for people to be taken to a shelter, people begin to show up out of nowhere. So people are coming out of either parishes where they've been in their homes and not out on the streets. They're continuing to come out of homes where maybe they were on the second floor, and now they can get out and start moving around. So it is literally more people continue to show up and move in.
Going to the central location, are guard troops carrying with them? Is there encounters?
It is every single thing. I mean, I have people out there literally handing out food and water to individuals. We have distribution sites where the guards are actually forming lines and people are coming through that. We have formed distributions, what I would call kind of retail distribution sites, where we bring in large supplies of the food and water, and then the guard and volunteers, Boy Scouts, and others will come together. And we're trying to do it as efficiently as possible by having cars drive through where you can drive through. In New Orleans, that's not possible, so we're doing that hand by hand with the guard. It's every single means of distribution that we can utilize, we're utilizing. Yes.
Today for food and offers of rescue. We've heard that over and over that in today, as recently as yesterday, sometimes when approached by rescue teams in boats, some people would say, no, we're staying. Do you know if that's still happening?
I don't know if it's still happening, but I do know that it's happened some yesterday and it happened some this morning. That was reported to me. And I have no rationale to give you why that's the case. That primarily seemed to be happening from the reports that I received from people on the overpasses or the bits of roadway that are not inundated and they're gathered there. We're continuing to sling load supplies into them, and then we will come in, and sometimes people just refuse to be taken away. We may reach a point where we just have to take them out.
That was my question. Do you force them out at some point, or do they hamper the efforts to, I guess, clean up and secure the city?
Well, at some point, if someone refuses to move, it will hamper the rescue effort. It will hamper the cleanup effort. And at that point, there will be a plan developed, decision made about how we will actually extract those people from the area.
Are you opening additional sites in Texas?
Pardon?
You opening additional sites in Texas?
Yes, yes. We have opened a site in San Antonio, and we have consideration of other sites under consideration too. No, if they're going to the Air Force Base in San Antonio. Yes.
Talk a little bit about fuel supplies. Obviously, there's less demand for fuel in the New Orleans area now, far more in some places like Baton Rouge, where a lot of folks have scurried to. How are you managing the fuel supply?
We are currently, the cabinet is currently working to talk to all the governors, talk to all the refiners, talk to all the wholesale distributors about ways that they can divert supplies from critical areas to other critical areas. And so the cabinet's working that at that level. They're aware of the problem. They're working on trying to devise some sort of plan that is equitable to the entire country, and also recognize that the entire country wants to help this impacted area in these 3 states.
You mentioned that you don't think the dead bodies are causing a public health issue. Have you seen any public health issues in any of the sites where the investigators are stored or anywhere around?
Well, public health issues in the terms of widespread disease, no. Health issues in terms of heat exhaustion and just the physical frustration of being in that confined facility, some of the psychological effects, yes, we are beginning to see some of that and are trying to address it as rapidly as possible. I intend to put additional the teams of the National Disaster Medical System in place to deal with those.
Is there any unrest at some of the shelters because of all the pressure that just seems in small confined sites, like the ones in Baton Rouge or the place where there's lots of people gathering?
I've had no reports of unrest if the connotation of the word unrest means that people are beginning to riot or, they're banging on walls and screaming and hollering or burning tires or whatever. I've had no reports of that. But I got to tell you, if you're in one of those shelters and your home's been destroyed and you're displaced, you feel unrest. But again, I emphasize there's a big difference between being frustrated and being tired and being worn out and frustrated and taking a gun or beating up a National Guard officer or burning a car or doing anything like that. I have not seen reports of that kind of unrest.
People aren't sure if they get put on a bus to Houston, if they're going to be required to stay in Houston. Are you trying to keep people at the shelters where they're eventually transported to? Because I think that's some of your getting on the bus.
Yes, because we have to develop places for them to go. We have to get the temporary housing program running. In Florida last year, we started immediately moving in travel trailers for people to live in. We've started that process of identifying sites and ways to do it, just like the cruise ships, identifying those kinds of mechanisms. So I imagine there is some reluctance of being transported to Houston just because you've gone from one unknown now to another unknown. But we've got to get them. I don't want to lecture you guys, but the point I'm trying to make is what we're doing right now is this life-sustaining effort of these people have no place to go. So we're trying to get them to a place where we can get them stabilized, get them fed, find out who they are, find out what their needs are, and start treating them. That's the objective.
Are you going to let them leave if they wanted to leave Houston if a family member came to pick them up?
Oh, absolutely.
There was some concern this morning from a doctor that was transported out of Charity and her boyfriend was sent to Houston that they didn't know if he could be allowed to leave.
Call that boyfriend back and say, yes, go pick them up. We want to encourage people to leave the shelters if they can. But you got to remember, there are so many people in these shelters who have no place to go. They either have no other family members or that family unit may be intact, but they have no place that family unit can go. So they may have no other place to go. But if they've got a spot, they're free to pack up and go wherever they want to. And if they have the ability to do that, I would encourage them to do so.
You talked about the time delay with the hospital. Does that mean that now today you're going to focus on getting the rest of the people out of
Yes, in fact, I just heard from the governor before I came in here that she had a report from her state health secretary that those evacuations were ongoing and they were receiving good reports and they were quite satisfied with the evacuations of the hospitals.
Floodwater still going down?
Yes. They're going down.
Okay, you say that taking people to San Antonio airport, but how many of the bases in Louisiana?
It's not the most desirable thing to do because if we did that and then we had to stage our logistical operations further away, then we would have questions about why is it taking longer to do something because they'd be flying in from 500 miles away instead of flying in from just a short distance. There's also the additional problem of getting some of these air bases close by up and running. They have to have power. They have to be able to support people that we put in there before we can do that. Pardon? And that is
That would be a potential location for people to actually stay.
it. Let me tell you guys. Let me say it again. You're going to hear me say this in every press briefing. Everything's on the table. I have seen some of the. Well, if I say this, you're going to ask me what they are, and I'm not going to tell you. But I have seen some of the craziest ideas about how to house people, where to put people, how to do this, and it is all on the table. There is nothing that is not being considered.
Can you tell us how many people we're talking about right now? How many people are in shelters? How many shelter area locations are there? How many do you anticipate coming in the next couple of years?
We have that, and we have that spreadsheet for you, and we will get that spreadsheet to you as soon as this is over with.
Tell us this, that would be great as well.
We'll get you the spreadsheet. Yes.
There's been talk by some parish presidents, specifically one in Jefferson Parish, about encouraging people to come back Monday. Would you think that would be an unwise thing to suggest to people at this point?
It's really incumbent upon everyone to recognize that we shouldn't do anything that's going to hinder rescue efforts. We shouldn't do anything that's going to hinder the recovery efforts. It is still a very dangerous situation, not in terms of unrest and that sort of. It's a very dangerous situation of moving into these areas where floodwaters still exist, where homes are still very dangerous. It's very easy to look at a home that you don't see any water around it, but that's because the water went away, the day after Katrina left, and that home is still very dangerous. We will actually send a lot of urban search and rescue teams out to areas that have been identified as having been under floodwater, and we will go through and check the structural integrity of those homes. And some of them may be red flagged where people cannot go in except with a local official or with one of the team members to get what belongings they can and get out of there. And it's going to be that kind of tedious, long-term process that we have to do house by house by house. That's the scope of what we're facing here, folks.
You're saying don't go. You're basically saying...
Michael Brown is the FEMA director. We've been listening to his news conference explaining what's going on. FEMA clearly trying to do the best they can under awful circumstances. The other picture you're seeing, these are live pictures coming in from outside the Superdome in New Orleans. National Guard troops on the scene. They're trying to move the critically injured. You see a helicopter over there that will be removing some of those individuals. Let's listen into the pilot briefly.
Whatever you want to call them, or just people, trying to displace people, trying to get them to a place where they can be safe and have some kind of comfort, have fresh water, have fresh food. I'm going to pan over to the right here and show you a Black Hawk, of course the helicopter. As we have another rain shower start to come through here. Just a very surreal scene. What we have noticed, and a little bit of good news, we were flying earlier this afternoon over the fairgrounds, and I can't, it's off in the distance right now, but over the fairgrounds was completely underwater yesterday. The water level has declined slowly. It's definitely nothing good as far as how low it's gone, but it's better than it was yesterday. So it's hopefully a good sign that maybe the waters are starting to recede. And as we were in the area yesterday, this some of these areas here, I think the water line was, I'm going to push in here, the water line was much higher. So it seems to be that maybe there is some good news.
All right, we've been listening to a helicopter pilot flying over the Superdome in New Orleans, getting ready for emergency operations. Clearly, lots of emergency operations underway right now. Chris Lawrence is our man in New Orleans. He's joining us on the phone. Chris, give our viewers a little update. We heard the FEMA director, Michael Brown, say they're doing the best they can, but from your vantage point, how are they doing?
Well, from here and from talking to the police officers, they're losing control of the city. We're now standing on the roof of one of the police stations. The police officers came by and told us in very, very strong terms it wasn't safe to be out on the street. So we've now pulled up at one of the police stations, and we're on the roof. It cuts us off a little bit as to what's happening directly on the street, but does give us a much better view of the entire area. We can see multiple helicopters circling the downtown area, and across the Mississippi River, I can still see that fire burning right across the Mississippi. It has been raining steadily here for about an hour to 2 hours now, but even with the rain, you can see this huge cloud of black smoke rising up over from the other side of the Mississippi.
We see these individuals, Chris, standing outside the Superdome in New Orleans. We do see National Guard personnel there. We see police officers on the scene. They are presumably waiting relatively patiently to board buses and drive to the Astrodome in Houston. They're getting ready. They're hoping that the buses will arrive, but we did hear an urgent SOS appeal from the mayor in New Orleans just a little while ago, saying they need so much help. So much is not being done to save these people. Let me read to you, Chris. You've been there now for 24 hours in New Orleans. The lead from the latest Associated Press story that has just moved out of New Orleans, the byline, Adam Nassiter. I'll just read a couple sentences to you and to our viewers, and I want you to weigh in after we hear his eyewitness account of what's happening in New Orleans. Dateline New Orleans. Storm victims were raped and beaten. Fights and fires broke out. Corpses lay out in the open, and rescue helicopters and law enforcement officers were shot as flooded out New Orleans descended into anarchy Thursday. This is a desperate SOS, the mayor said. The story goes on to say, and quote the Reverend Isaac Clark, 68, who was standing outside the New Orleans Convention Center. He says, quote, "We are out here like pure animals. We don't have help." Chris Lawrence, you're there. You're in New Orleans right now. Is that an accurate description of what's happening on the streets of New Orleans right now?
I would say it's very accurate. And we have reported already all of those, except for the actual rape. We have not been able to independently confirm that women were raped, although we did hear a lot of people talking about that. But we know that there has been, just in the last hour, police tell us that someone did go by the convention center and actually fire at some of the people standing outside the convention center. We believe they have the person in custody, although it is hard to get information. The police are very, very tense right now. So it's a little difficult to have them stop and kind of explain what happened. They're literally riding around full assault weapons, full tactical gear, and pickup trucks, 5, 6, 7, 8 officers. It is a very tense situation here. One of the officers told us, although this, too, we are still trying to independently confirm, and it's tough from our vantage point here, but one of the officers says that some of the inmates at the Orleans Parish jail may have taken control of the prison. From what we were hearing, they have weapons. They have not left the jail. They can't get out, but that they have control of weapons inside that jail. And again, Wolf, isolated as we are, it's getting more and more difficult to confirm information. I never want to compare anything to what's happening in Iraq, But there is one similarity in that the ability to move about as reporters is slowly becoming compromised in that to be as safe as possible, you have to sacrifice some of your ability to go out and confirm information and verify stories. And right now, with the safety situation in the city of New Orleans, that's just not possible.
Convoy, Chris, of buses. I believe those buses are headed toward the Superdome. Those buses will be carrying people, taking people to the Astrodome in Houston. I counted about 20 buses in that caravan that was making its way, I believe, toward the Superdome. I assume those buses are empty, but if we get better information, we'll update our viewers. These are live pictures that we're bringing in from New Orleans right now. The pictures our viewers are seeing, individuals, they're outside the Superdome. They're anxious to get out of there as quickly as possible. Even though there are military personnel, National Guard troops there, even though there are police officers there and rescue workers there, they want to get out as quickly as they can, and efforts are being made to move them to Houston. This is in contrast to what's happening not that far away over at the convention center, where the mayor says there may be another 15 or 20,000 people who don't have any kind of security situation or help that is there, and the mayor simply says they're stretched. They have no opportunity to get the job done at the convention center, and I assume there are lots of other people elsewhere in New Orleans. Do we have any number? Yesterday we heard perhaps 100,000 people are stranded in New Orleans, Chris, and would like to get out. But have you gotten any better information? I know you're restricted to your whereabouts and how you could communicate with the outside world in the French Quarter of New Orleans, where you are right now.
Yeah, I can't even begin to tell you exact hard numbers on how many people are still here, although having spent most of the morning down at the convention center, I mean, thousands and thousands of families just sitting out there. They've run out of a lot of food. They're running out of water. They have no contact with the outside world, no way to talk to family members to let them know they're still alive, and no way to get out. They've been waiting for days for buses that they were told were going to pick them up, some of them sleeping out there at night after night after night, and the situation down there is just horrible, Wolf. I mean, feces, raw sewage, rotting trash, and these families, you're talking mothers with babies, elderly people, people with very serious health problems are living in this night after night, all day exposed to the sun, at night at risk from young people fighting and trampling them. And as we saw for ourselves, a man went into a seizure right in front of us, I mean, right on the ground, and people did what they could, and they put some ice on his chest, but there was no doctor, there's no ambulance, and if nothing changes there, more people are just going to die there.
All right, Chris, I'm going to have you stand by. We're going to continue to show our viewers these dramatic pictures from outside the Superdome in New Orleans. Thousands of people anxious to get out of there, make their way to someplace. Many of them will be boarding buses. We saw a whole caravan of buses in New Orleans, and presumably they're going to be taken to the Astrodome in Houston, which is a good drive. Let's bring in Charles Foti. He's the Attorney General of Louisiana. Mr. Foti, thanks very much for joining us. You see the pictures, you hear the horror stories. What is most concerning right now, in addition to the life and death struggle that these people are undergoing, is the security situation that has enveloped much of this city. What are you hearing?
Well, the hurricane finally got out of New Orleans area Monday night. We immediately sent people in. The governor and the Homeland Security people have been working along with the state police and the National Guard to supplement and help the people in the 5 parishes that occurred. You're showing Orleans Parish, but the Jefferson Parish is also devastated, Clackamas Parish, St. Bernard Parish, and St. Bernard Parish. We have moved all of the prisoners. The Department of Corrections for the state of Louisiana has moved all the prisoners out of Jefferson Parish. They're in the process of moving all of the prisoners out of Orleans Parish. We are also in the process right now, because of the flooding in Orleans Parish, to set up a temporary detention center so that everybody that's arrested by whether it's by the New Orleans Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, or the state police, other law enforcement agencies can bring them there. We will hold them there so they will be out of the action and start the criminal prosecutions against them. At some time later, we will move them to another parish where the district attorney from Orleans Parish and the judges, both in municipal and traffic court, will hold open court. At the same time, the fire you talked about a little bit is probably the one at the Oakwood Shopping Center, which is on the West Bank in Jefferson Parish. We have sent people from my office down to the hospital on the West Bank to help secure its facilities. We are working with everybody to make sure it's safe.
Attorney General, let me interrupt for a moment and ask you, I guess the question that everybody who is watching television right now and hearing about what's happening in New Orleans wants to know, when will you have enough troops, National Guard troops, enough police officers, enough rescue operators to control this city, which seems to be at least huge chunks of it in chaos right now?
As we speak, and for the last 2 days, we've been having more people come in. The Louisiana sheriffs across the state of Louisiana have sent 300 people down there. They arrived there today. There are more National Guard troops coming in. There are probably some regular Army troops coming at the same time. We received requests from other law enforcement agencies to send people. We have changed our rules to bring them in so they can start working. FEMA has been down here, so I would think in the next couple of days we'll have it well under control. In the process, we had Tuesday, Wednesday, and part of Thursday. In that process, we had to go through 5 parishes to help rescue people that were trapped. At the same time, we had to get hospitals running. They were getting out of fuel because there's no water and there's no electricity, so the state sent that down. We have been working every way possible to provide assistance. The President of the United States has been very gracious with our governor. Our governor has had strong leadership to help bring all the resources to bear, and at the same time you're moving the evacuees out, and you set up the shelters all over the state, which we're sending people to. So it's a total statewide and in some instances national effort. This is probably the worst.
I was going to say,
this is probably the worst
Attorney General, go ahead, finish your thought.
Hit the United States. I said this is probably the worst disaster hit the United States of America.
Well, you're probably right, unfortunately. Can you confirm that the death toll in New Orleans alone is going to go into the thousands?
No, I have no independent knowledge of that. We have been over there. We have helped and provided it, but there is no idea about how many people are dead. Sometime in the next day or two, FEMA will be able to have that information and be doing it. But right now, we're trying to get the living out. We've gotten a lot of the critically ill out, and we are going out picking up pockets of people every place. As you've seen, they're on bridges, they're in front of the convention center, in front of the Superdome, other places, and just getting, because of the flooded roads and condition, there's only one way in and one way out.
On the question of looting, we heard the President of the United States say this morning there should be a zero tolerance when it comes to looting. At the same time, there's this dilemma that I'm sure unfolds for a lot of these poor people who are desperate right now. They have their children with them. They have no food. They have no water. They are desperately trying to save their kids. Would you prosecute individuals who go into a 7-Eleven and take food or water for their children? Is that acceptable under these kinds of horrendous circumstances?
Let me tell you, if the law enforcement officer makes an arrest, then the district attorney would make that decision based upon the facts of that particular case. I am positive that where he had the facts as such that someone was starving to death and they had some food, they would help. But let us not confuse that with a criminal element that is wholesale looting and causing trouble. What you have is a criminal element that's trying to take control. And you have a city that's ravaged because of floodwaters that are constantly rising, and we are doing the best we can to reestablish the criminal justice system, and it will be reestablished, and we will prosecute the looters to the fullest extent of the law.
Charles Foti is Louisiana's Attorney General. Good luck to you, Attorney General. Appreciate it very much. Got a difficult assignment. CNN's Ed Lavandera is on the scene for us in New Orleans at the airport, watching what's going on. Ed, what is happening now?
Well, there are about 25 helicopters ferrying
back and forth between the New Orleans airport and the city of New Orleans, shepherding people back and forth. Basically, the folks here at the airport using whatever they can to get people moving around. Equipment normally used to move luggage around at these airports is moving people. Inside the terminal of the airport, the FEMA medical teams are overwhelmed with the number of people here. We have seen many people who have been pulled from area hospitals who are already in critical condition. We saw one body taken off a plane on the back of one of these luggage racks that was just wrapped up, a dead body. Inside, it's just an intense scene. The scenes on people's faces says it all. I came across a little while ago as well a maternity ward of women holding their newborn babies. Every woman was holding a newborn except for one who was holding Polaroid photographs. Her baby had been taken to the intensive care unit, and as the woman was about to board an aircraft for Fort Worth, Texas, she told me real quickly that she had no idea where her baby is.
They had to evacuate us, and I was in ICU, and I'm looking for my baby. They transferred my baby to University Hospital, and I don't know where my baby is.
A harrowing scene, Wolf, and basically these helicopters, we've seen them come and go over and over throughout the afternoon. Every time they just drop off another load of people quickly. Some are taken on buses. The plan is to move a lot of these people out of the airport on fixed-wing aircraft, presumably either to Houston. We've heard some people going to Fort Worth or other parts of Louisiana as well. I've also been told by one FEMA official that they're doing a nationwide bed count of hospitals, perhaps looking for any kind of place that might be able to handle all of these people. Wolf? And how long is this going to continue? Because it looks like they're pretty much at full capacity already at the airport. Is that right, Ed? Well, they must be. I spoke with one gentleman who I met on the way in here Tuesday morning, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, who's one of the commanders here. He said they were overwhelmed, that they were never expecting to see this many people. But they started getting nervous yesterday when the rumors started circulating that many of the people at the Superdome and the Convention Center that were still trapped in the city were going to be brought through here. They are still waiting to get more support and backup for many of the medical teams who have been working for 24 hours straight trying to help out this situation. This is the busiest we've seen since I've been here since early Tuesday morning. The last couple of hours, the helicopters have been coming nonstop. Essentially, this airport has been turned into a military airfield. All right, Ed Lavandera reporting for us live from the airport in New Orleans, which has taken on a new meaning, that word airport in New Orleans. We'll continue to check back with you. Chris Lawrence will check back with in New Orleans as well. We'll take a quick break. Jack Cafferty is standing by with his thoughts. Stay with us.
Hurricane Headquarters.
I was just getting to the good part when Uncle Ernie dropped his tons. Oh, I'd seen that look before. It was heartburn. Before you could say duck sauce, I was there with my Pepsid Complete. I told him only Pepsid Complete starts to neutralize acid on contact and keeps heartburn from coming back all day or all night. In no time, Uncle Ernie was in Mushu heaven, and I had my eye on a spicy dumpling. Pepsid Complete, just one and heartburn's done.
She's called her deepness because no woman has spent more time underwater studying marine ecosystems.
There's a symphony of life down there, but there are energy resources too, and Kerr-McGee leads the way.
With new smart technology that can float in, recover resources, then sail away. Energy our country needs.
With care our oceans deserve.
Nobody rules and respects the deep water like the explorers of Kerr-McGee.
Look, anyone can try out, but not just anyone can make it.
Freeze, man! You better get that label straight.
I don't tolerate imperfections.
Why'd you replace that beer, Smith? Because Miller Lite has great taste. Yes, sir.
You see, with great taste comes great responsibility. Tell me those aren't socks and sandals, Klein. A beer with character deserves a man with character. We have to reflect that.
Ineligible
Privacy, equality, the right to choose. Fundamental freedoms Americans have cherished for generations. But John Roberts dismisses one of our established liberties as the so-called right to privacy. and co-wrote a brief arguing that Roe v. Wade should be overruled. Roberts' legal record raises questions on whether he accepts the right to privacy. There's just too much at stake to let John Roberts become a decisive vote on the Supreme Court.
With 3,800 students and a staff of 200, Carol is a formidable woman. But she was no match for something smaller than the point of a pencil. It knocked her out so fast she didn't know what hit her. It was a clot. Like Carol, if you've been hospitalized with heart-related chest pain or a certain type of heart attack, what doctors call ACS, chances are you've had a clot. But now, Carol's doctor is helping increase Carol's protection against heart attack and stroke by putting her on Plavix. Plavix, in combination with aspirin and other heart medicines, helps provide greater protection against heart attack and stroke than aspirin and other heart medicines alone by helping keep blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots.
If you have a stomach ulcer or other condition that causes bleeding, you shouldn't use Plavix. When taking Plavix alone or with some medicines, including aspirin, the risk of bleeding may increase. To minimize this risk, talk to your doctor before taking aspirin or other medicines with Plavix. Additional rare but serious side effects could occur.
Ask your doctor about Plavix today, because no matter how formidable you are, you're no match for a dangerous clot.
Let's check in with CNN's Jack Cafferty. He's in New York. He's been reading your email. You had a provocative question. Remind our viewers what the question was, Jack.
Well, all right. The question was this: what role have race and class played in the Gulf Coast crisis? We've gotten a lot of mail from viewers. Renee in Harrisonburg, Virginia writes, if those congressmen saw their rich white constituents in trouble, they would have called a special session of Congress the next day. Why the hesitation? James in Las Vegas, Nevada, the world's watching, and they're going to get a good look at how this country treats black people. Beth writes, Mr. Cafferty, you're correct. These are the poor blacks who could not leave the area. Our helicopters could have dropped food and water onto the roofs of the people who were waving for help. At least that would have sustained them, but nothing was done. Eva writes, race and class played a 100% role in the help. The only reason that they're getting help now is due to media coverage for the entire world to see. There's an election coming next November. I hope the people remember this when they go to the polls. Amos writes, if this is the question on America's mind, then the next question has to be, how does race and class play into the looting and general lawlessness? It's interesting that race and class might somehow explain the inability of some to flee the storm, confirming their victimhood. But what about responsibility, respect for others, and just common decency? And finally, C writes, blacks and whites with money are gone. In the end, it's all about the money. Once again, the poor are left behind. Wolf.
Well, I've been getting a lot of email on that, Jack. A lot of the people who are suffering are not just the poor and not just black, but there are middle-class people who are suffering as well, including middle-class blacks who are suffering in New Orleans. This cuts across sort of class lines and racial lines as well.
Well, except that the predominant, the majority of the population, a large majority of the population in New Orleans is black to begin with. And number two, those who had the means and the money and were paying attention to the warnings that were coming their way, in all likelihood chose to get out of Dodge. I would suggest, although I have no way of knowing this, but I would suggest that the bulk of the people ensconced in the Superdome in New Orleans are poor people. And the pictures clearly show the majority of them are black. Again, the majority of the population of the city is black, so I don't know what you can extrapolate from that. But my guess is that the means to flee has to be a factor in who's still in New Orleans and who isn't.
Jack Cafferty in New York reporting for us, telling us what our viewers think as well. Thank you, Jack, very much. Let's check in with our internet reporter, Jackie Schechner. She's reading what's out there on the blogs. Jackie?
Same thing, Wolf, that Jack's hearing from his emails is what we're seeing materialize online right now. The race issue not lost on some of the bloggers at this point who are doing some analysis and some looking at this situation. The Ascent blog, who talks about African-American policy, saying, why did it take such a long time for President Bush's compassionate conservatism to kick in, wondering was the response of a Republican president to a district that is 70% African-American sufficient? I suspect the answer to that question is going to be no. Also at Balloon Juice, this is John Cole's blog, he talks about the fact that people were saying they didn't leave. He says anyone who says that they didn't leave because they had been through hurricanes before, he suspects some of them were speaking out of a matter of pride. They had nowhere to go, no way to get there. Have you ever been broke? He says it can be embarrassing. So that's one of the things they're taking a look at. The moderate voice, Joe Gandelman, also saying the same thing. He refuses to blame this on the people who didn't have the money to get out, saying that it's in fact the invisible hand of capitalism that is affecting people now in New Orleans. So definitely the issue coming up online as well. Wolf.
All right, thanks very much, Jackie. Let's go to Houston, the Astrodome specifically. Keith Oppenheim is there. That's where so many of the survivors already have arrived. Not that many, I take it, yet, but many more on the way. Keith, you have one of those survivors with you?
I do, and I'll point out first, Wolf, that I went inside the Astrodome a couple hours ago, took a look at what's going on in there. There were about 2,000 folks in there at that point. Probably it's at about 3,000 now. It's quite orderly in there, but it would not be, in my view anyway, an easy place to live for a while because you're inside a sports arena with all those folks. And with us to talk about what she's about to go through and what she has been through is Valina Coco. I'll mention that Valina is a special education teacher. Your home, which is about a mile from Lake Pontchartrain, you believe is up to the roof with water, and you actually were rescued from a church roof near your house?
That's correct.
And so was that pretty rough getting to the Superdome, or was it mostly hard once you were in the Superdome?
Once we had gotten to the Coast Guard boat and made it to the bridge, waiting a few hours to be rescued again by the Army unit, it took us about an hour and a half to make it through the streets, through the water, and down trees and power lines.
That must have been just unreal to see that.
It was very scary because you had to do the zigzag course with this huge truck and people standing looking, and everybody was scared, wet, tired.
Inside the Superdome, you were there for 2 days, I understand. Was it stressful for you? And I should point out you're with your college-age daughter and your mother, who had bypass surgery 5 weeks ago.
That's correct. It was stressful. There were a large number of people. We were sitting in chairs, and this was home for a few days. The National Guard presence was very large, and they were doing their best to keep everyone in control and everybody calm and orderly. But I believe the lack of communication with the media, the news, the radio, different devices that we could have to let us know what was going on in our neighborhoods. With each new group of people that came in, we heard new horror tales, new levels of water, new places and areas of destruction in hometown, and everything was very, very scary, and it was very stressful.
In a moment, I want to ask you about what you're going to do from here at the Astrodome, but while you've been waiting here with me, you've been listening to reports on CNN about what's happening in New Orleans right now. How do you react to this emotionally, to hear what's happening to your city?
It's devastating. We already have the things that Mother Nature has done to us that we have no control over, but we all have control over ourselves and our actions. And to hear some of the horrendous acts, it's very disappointing to think that this is home and that we're destroying what's ours.
Thank you so much, Valina. And I'll just finish up because we got to go here. That Valina has some tough decisions to make, Wolf, because while her mom is going to get medical care here, she's got to balance the decisions. She's probably going to send her daughter to another college out of state, at least for the meantime. And then she has to figure out what to do with herself and her mom, because right now she doesn't have a city to return to. Back to you.
All right, Keith, thank you very much. And I want to continue to show our viewers these pictures. These are live pictures that we're getting in underneath this overpass in New Orleans. People huddling underneath, trying to get some protection for themselves. Remember, tens of thousands of people are still stranded in New Orleans right now. They're trying to wait for some help, some opportunity to get out of this city, because the situation there on the ground is increasingly getting desperate, as we're hearing from numerous eyewitnesses on the scene, including the mayor himself, Ray Nagin, who only 3 hours ago issued what he called a desperate SOS. We'll continue to watch all of these pictures and continue our special coverage here in the Situation Room right after this.
90 notebooks, Wi-Fi enabled ASAP?
Right.
You just want me to make them appear now? All right.
Paco! Acho!
I'm just kidding. I'll call CDW. You'll have your notebooks in no time.
Nobody responds like CDW. With great technology like the ThinkPad X41 tablet PC. It's one of the lightest convertible tablets on the market. CDW, the right technology, right away.
So you guys want me to conjure up some PCs, too?
They say he's a newsman on a mission. He gives both sides a fair shot. These days, who can you trust? Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN tonight, 6 Eastern.
Is underactive thyroid function keeping you fat?
Underactive thyroid function caused by crash diets or unbalanced weight loss programs can slow your metabolism and make losing weight almost impossible. But now there's Thyron ATC, safe, effective weight loss with the thyroid support you need. Face it, poor thyroid function is a diet killer. It can sabotage any weight loss plan. That's why there's Thyron ATC. Finally, safe, effective weight loss. Thyron ATC, the weight loss you want with the added support you need. Thyron ATC, it works, really works.
Call in the next 15 minutes and find out how you can receive a bonus bottle of Thyron ATC absolutely free. Call 1-800-278-7710. That's 1-800-278-7710. Thyron ATC, the weight loss you want plus the thyroid support you need. Order now. Supplies are limited.
Thyron ATC, see the difference, feel the difference. You won't be disappointed.
Right now, Oregon kids are becoming better readers thanks to the efforts of the Portland New Car Dealers Association. Through their partnership with Operation Outreach, your local new car dealers help get books to kids who don't have books at home. Teachers are getting supplemental training materials, and Oregon kids are getting a chance to succeed and excel. Feels good to know our kids benefit from the generous support of the Metro Portland New Car Dealers, Operation Outreach, and Comcast Cable, making a difference for Oregon's kids.
Comcast.
Pay-per-view.
You want game? This fall, ESPN Game Plan has more than 150 extra college football games. Team matchups and rivalries from major conferences. All available when you order your exclusive ESPN Game Plan pay-per-view package.
Don't wait. Bring your team home now and order all the action with ESPN pay-per-view. Call today.
Morning. Real news makes the difference. CNN tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern.
The mayor of New Orleans has issued what he calls a desperate SOS appeal to try to help people stranded, stuck inside the New Orleans Convention Center as opposed to the Superdome. Raymond Cooper is 43 years old. He's in the Convention Center right now. Mr. Cooper, where exactly are you?
I'm upstairs in the kitchen area utilizing one of the phones that I was walking by looking for some water, anything I can bring down to some babies and stuff like that.
Did you find any?
No, sir. There's no water at all in the building.
What is it like inside the Convention Center? There are thousands of people inside.
Sir, you got about 3,000 people here in this in the convention center right now. They're hungry, don't have any food. We was told 2.5 days ago to make our way to the Superdome or the convention center by our mayor, and which when we got here was no one to tell us what to do, no one to direct us, no authority figure. They had a couple of policemen out here, such about 6 or 7 policemen told me directly when I went to tell them that, hey, man, you got bodies in there. You got 2 old ladies that just passed, just that died. People dragging the bodies into little corners. One guy had asked, that's how I found out. The guy had asked me, hey, man, anybody sleeping over here? I'm like, no. He dragged 2 bodies in there. Now I just found out there was a lady and an old man. The lady went to nudge him. He's dead.
Are there any National Guard personnel, any troops on the scene?
It is troops passing by with their weapons, like a show of force and stuff, as if I'm in Iraq and stuff. I'm ex-military. I know what it looked like, and that's basically what it is.
And what about police? You say there's about 6 police officers outside?
There's a 7 police officers on the corner, back off to the side, in a garage with the generators going on. They told me that, hey, it is nothing that we could do.
So what are people eating? What are people drinking, the 3,000 people stuck inside?
We have to walk to different little stores and stuff like that to find stuff that the looters had already broken the doors and stuff like that. We have to pick up candy, cookies, sodas off the floor and stuff. Water is all over there. We have to walk it all the way back and stuff to give to people and stuff like that. I found some hams. I found some turkeys and stuff like that. And I just was handing it to the people. Just handing it to them and stuff. I mean, hey, you know. And then the thing about it, you got these young teenage boys running around up here raping these girls.
Well, Mr. Cooper, stand by for a moment. The head of FEMA, Michael Brown, is joining us now from Baton Rouge. You've got an awful job underway, Mr. Brown, but give our viewers a sense. You just heard this individual, Raymond Cooper. He's 43 years old, together with 3,000 other people. They're stuck inside that convention center, and there's no help in sight. What do you say to this individual?
Well, we just learned today from the state about the convention center and the folks there, and the state ordered 5 truckloads of meals and food, so we started delivering those today. So the mayor should be seeing those just any time.
When do you think that those truckloads will arrive?
Well, the request came in from the state about 4 or 5 hours ago, so they should be on the way, and I would think literally they should just be there any time now.
So help is on the way to those 3,000 people. The mayor, in his desperate SOS appeal, he said if those individuals inside want to start walking away from the convention center over to an expressway that's not far away and just start walking, that would be fine with him given the deteriorating health and security situation inside that convention center.
If people want to leave and are capable of leaving, one, I think that's great. That is not a decision. FEMA does not do law enforcement. That's up to state and local authorities. So if someone's able to walk to safety, I would encourage them to do that.
When do you think FEMA will have the resources in New Orleans to save these people? Because we're hearing at hospitals the situation is getting increasingly dangerous and worse, and elsewhere in the city as well. When do you think that you will have the resources you need to secure New Orleans?
We have those resources now. I just met with General Honore, who is our military commander here, working in conjunction with FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. The general assured me that we have about 4,700 National Guard troops in New Orleans now. That number is going to go to some 7,000, and over the next 2 or 3 days, it will increase exponentially to where we'll have slightly over 30,000 National Guard troops to do both security work and to help us in the distribution of supplies. We continue to do search and rescue missions. I learned today that we've just completed or are in the process of completing the evacuations of the hospitals, and that those are going very well. So I think that the things, considering the dire circumstances that we have in New Orleans, virtually a city that has been destroyed, that things are going relatively well. Now, I want to emphasize, though, I completely understand and empathize with those who right now are in miserable conditions. It's hot, it's humid, it's crowded, they're frustrated, their lives have been upended, they don't know what's going to happen to them next, so I fully comprehend and understand their frustration. That's why we're working, the men and women of FEMA and the Army are doing everything they can to get that supply relief to them just as humanly fast as we can do it.
We spoke to a doctor, a physician from Charity Hospital in New Orleans on this program just a little while ago, and he made it clear that the situation there is pretty grim right now, and they need help to especially remove about 350 patients and 600 medical personnel because they're afraid to walk outside because of the floodwaters, the potential to disease, and the snipers. Some of their vehicles have already been shot on as they're trying to remove patients. I assume you've heard those stories as well.
I have heard those stories, and we're trying to put non-law enforcement people in the field, in addition, obviously, to the law enforcement people, just to get a read on the accuracy of those reports that we're hearing about snipers and everything else. But I would say they're making the right decision. If there are still floodwaters around there, they shouldn't be trying to evacuate those patients by themselves. The Coast Guard, FEMA, all of those continue to do those rescue missions, and we continue to do those evacuations, and we'll certainly continue to evacuate all of the hospitals.
Knowing what you know now, Michael Brown, and obviously all of us are a lot smarter with hindsight, what should FEMA have done differently in the days leading up to Hurricane Katrina to save people's lives in New Orleans? Because as you know, we're getting reports from the governor, from the mayor, that perhaps the death toll will go into the thousands.
Well, I think the death toll may go into the thousands, and unfortunately, that's going to be attributable a lot to people who did not heed the evacuation warnings. And I don't make judgments about why people choose not to evacuate, but you know, there was a mandatory evacuation of New Orleans, and to find people still there is just heart-wrenching to me because you know, the mayor did everything he could to get them out of there. And so we've got to figure out some way to convince people that when evacuation warnings go out, it's for their own good. Now, I don't want to second guess why they did that. My job now is to get relief to them. The one thing I wish that I could do is that I wish that I could have had just literally the Army on hand at the very beginning. I wish I could have had thousands of people on hand at the very beginning. But what we faced, Wolf, was a disaster that in the normal circumstances ends after the hurricane makes landfall and it moves on and becomes a tropical storm. What we had in New Orleans is a growing disaster. The hurricane hit, that was one disaster. Then the levees broke, that became another disaster. And then the floods came, that became the third disaster. And so the second and third day after Katrina left this area, the disaster continued to occur. And so I had to be very careful about getting rescue teams in there, because otherwise we'd face an even higher death toll.
I know you have to run. I'll ask one final question. So many people, especially in New Orleans, are now saying all of this was predictable, that the levees, the flood walls, they could sustain a Category 3, but for days they knew this was going to be potentially either a Category 4 or a Category 5 with winds more than 150 or 160 miles an hour, and they're saying this was predictable. People should have realized the potential danger. Is that a fair criticism?
Well, I think it's a fair question to ask, and I know that government officials and engineers will debate that and figure that out. You know, right now I'm focused on trying to save lives. I'm trying to focus on getting people out of harm's way. And I think we should have that debate, but at the appropriate time.
Michael Brown, the FEMA director, has got an incredibly difficult job. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown, for joining us. Good luck to you and all the personnel on the ground. Our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr, is joining us now. She's got some new information. First of all, Barbara, where are you?
Well, we've just arrived at Camp Shelby, Mississippi, the headquarters for General Honore and his military planning staff for this massive military-aided relief effort. We've been talking to some planners since we got here on the ground in Mississippi, and they're updating us on a couple of key points. They tell us the aircraft carrier Truman, which we have seen is on its way from Norfolk, is most likely to now use its helicopters to airdrop food, water, and other supplies to some of the cut-off towns along the Gulf Coast, the towns which have no way to get aid. As soon as the Truman gets here, we should expect, if those towns are still cut off, to see those helicopters dropping aid. They are also telling us another key fact here this afternoon. Military planners at several Army brigades across the country are already engaging in planning to send their ground forces to this relief mission. And what they will do is, as those thousands of National Guard troops take on more of a law enforcement and security role, these Army ground troops will backfill them essentially. They will take on food distribution, logistics, supplies, all the things that, and continuing to do search and rescue, all the things the National Guard was doing. And Wolf, I have to tell you, here on the ground in Mississippi, the major challenge facing this Army planning staff, these military people that are working around the clock to get this effort going, is still lack of communications. They are suffering terribly here from a lack of ability to just simply be in touch with their counterparts and get things moving, Walt.
What we're seeing, Barbara, is a military helicopter. It's about to drop what is estimated to be a 3,000-pound sandbag into one of those holes, the breach in the levee that has caused so much of this devastation. They are bringing these sandbags in to try to fill up, at least on a short-term basis, the levee holes, the breach, so that the water will stop coming in to New Orleans. We'll continue to watch this picture, a very dramatic picture of this helicopter about to drop one of those 3,000-pound sandbags. A lot more of those sandbags will be needed, as you'll be able to see once the camera goes wide, to see how big this hole in the levee actually is. I want to bring back Raymond Cooper. He's 43 years old. He's been stranded inside the New Orleans Convention Center for the past 2-3 days. You've heard what the FEMA director, Michael Brown, just said. Mr. Cooper, your reaction?
Let me give them a word of advice. Do not send the National Guards to this place without sending someone of authority to talk to the people and instruct them to what is going on and what is going to happen. Because if they send those National Guards, I'm ex-military as well, if they send those National Guards in this place, I know what's going to happen. These little guys got guns running around here and stuff. They were shooting last night and stuff like that. Now you tell me, what you think is going to happen, Wolf?
You're there. When you say people, when you say, Mr. Cooper, that people have guns, how many people do you think are armed right now inside that convention center?
They have quite a few people running around here with guns and stuff. And I'm going to tell you what they're doing now. They're lined up outside. They got about 30 different lines and stuff outside waiting for buses. Now, in about an hour and a half, it's going to get dark. Their mind's going to say those buses are not going to come. They're going to act like crazy people. They're already walking around here like zombies or the living dead and stuff, you know. I know what's going to happen. So please don't send the National Guard. Send someone up in here, send someone with a bullhorn outside the place that could talk to these people first before you send someone in here to try to do police work.
All right, Raymond Cooper, we got to leave it right there. Good luck to you and all your family and friends inside that convention center. We're going to leave our coverage right now. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Lou Dobbs tonight picks up the coverage. Kitty Pilgrim sitting in for Lou tonight. Kitty?
Thanks, Wolf. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, as his city slips further into chaos, the mayor of New Orleans is out with a desperate SOS. Thousands of citizens still wait to be evacuated from an increasingly dangerous city. Anger at the government is growing. People are dying. And tonight, just what New Orleans does not need more of: rain. Soaked this afternoon by showers as the city's misery deepens. Elsewhere along the Gulf Coast, emergency relief is arriving, but slowly. The unofficial death toll in Mississippi approaching 200. Tonight, stunning new pictures of the damage of the infrastructure, buckled railroad tracks, overturned railroad cars. President Bush says he will visit the devastated Gulf Coast tomorrow. Congress is rushing back to Washington. Tonight, a national tragedy continues to unfold in the city of New Orleans. No food, no water, and chaos. New Orleans is just one of hundreds of distressed cities and towns along the Gulf Coast reeling from disaster and waiting for emergency help.
It is now 4 days since Hurricane Katrina blasted the Gulf Coast, and the situation is desperate. Louisiana's governor fears thousands are dead. Airlift rescues continue as residents beg for help from their rooftops.
Rescue operations have continued and are continuing in full force. The Coast Guard estimates that it has rescued approximately 3,000 people stranded in various flood areas, in particular in New Orleans and surrounding parishes. And we're going to continue to do it until we're satisfied that we've identified everybody that needs to be rescued.
Governor Blanco says more assistance is coming.
I have just gotten word that we will be getting all the troops we need as long as we need. They will continue to pour into the state. I've asked for no less than 40,000, but if we hit the 40,000 mark and still feel like we need more, we will get them.
The reinforcements are needed, especially at the New Orleans Convention Center.
2 days with no food.
CNN's Chris Lawrence reports the situation is rapidly turning to anarchy.
There are thousands of people just laying in the street. They have nowhere to go. These people are being forced to live like animals. People are dying at the convention center. We saw an older woman, someone's mother, someone's grandmother, in a wheelchair. Her dead body pushed up against the side of the convention center with a blanket over it. People have been trampled at night. Fights break out constantly. But there's no one in charge. There's no official saying, hey, here's our plan. It is just a complete free-for-all.
New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin says this is a desperate SOS and gave convention center refugees permission to march out of the area in search of relief. At the Superdome, the massive transfer of 23,000 refugees to the Houston Astrodome has started. For those who have arrived in Texas, great relief.
I just know we'll be better off here, better than when we were out there. We had nothing.
Everybody was breaking into houses for other people's food that wasn't home, who evacuated.
Another 25,000 people will go to the San Antonio area until they're able to return home. In Gulfport, Mississippi, people stand and wait. Roads that used to lead out now lead to nowhere. New pictures show entire communities completely flattened. There is little sign of life. For those survivors still in the area, a desperate need to let their loved ones know they have survived.
Yeah, if you see my dad or if you hear from him, tell him I'm okay. His name's Don, and he lives in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Daddy, I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm standing.
And from others, perhaps a message to the entire country. We are still here.
Now, here's the extraordinary plea for help tonight from the New Orleans mayor, Ray Nagin. And Nagin says, quote, "This is a desperate SOS. Right now, we are out of resources at the convention center and don't anticipate enough buses. We need buses. Currently, the convention center is unsanitary and unsafe, and we are running out of supplies for 15 to 20,000 people. We are now allowing people to march. They'll be marching up to the Crescent City connection to the westbound expressway to find relief. The health crisis for people stuck in New Orleans tonight is growing by the hour, and Ed Lavandera joins us from the New Orleans International Airport, where many of the city's sick are being taken for treatment, and doctors there say they are completely overwhelmed. Ed?
Hi, Kitty. What we've seen here at the New Orleans International Airport is the scenes like this you've seen behind me. Helicopters coming in, one after another after another. Basically, we've seen the same ones also coming in time and time again. We understand that many of these helicopters are going to a variety of places in New Orleans. Some of them are going to pick up people at the Superdome. Others are bringing people from hospitals and other shelters around the area where people had evacuated to. Essentially, many of them are being brought here. They're being checked out. We've seen many critical injuries, not to say injuries, but people in critical condition. It might have already been that way before the storm even hit. But having said that, the authorities here on the ground are using whatever they can to move people around, even using the equipment from the airport that's normally used to shuffle luggage around. And this time it's being used to transport people in critical condition, and also being used to herd and shepherd the people back and forth inside the terminal where they're able to get medical attention at this point. And from here, many people are also being bussed out to other aircraft on the airport grounds here, where from here they are being flown out to like the places you mentioned. Houston, San Antonio. We spoke with some people who told spoke with some people who said they were being flown to Fort Worth. It is a desperate scene here. Many of the folks that we have walked inside the terminal here have come rushing to us, asking us to put them on TV to let them know that they're okay. Many of them haven't been able to speak with loved ones for days, and they want to get the word out to them that even though they're in this situation, that many of them are okay. As far as the medical technicians and the FEMA workers who are inside the airport terminal here, they have been working round the clock to process as many of these people. Some of them have told me they never expected to see this many people, well over 1,000 that have come through here in this day alone. So they are overwhelmed. It's hard to hear me. You can see one of these helicopters taking off now. And as I mentioned, it's a steady stream of people coming and going through this airport. Some are staying here for medical attention. Others are being moved out of the area completely. Kitty?
Ed, quick question. What is the capacity for that facility? How many people do you think that they can accommodate? What are the estimates?
Well, they can accommodate thousands, because essentially they've taken over one little section of the terminal and is being used as a hospital. The rest of the airport is where a lot of these other people are kind of pouring into. So there's capacity to hold several thousand people here. It's much more than they wanted to see at any given point here, but that's just the way it is right now.
We're seeing pictures of some of the people being held in the area. Now, Ed, what's your sense? It certainly is a good facility for bringing in medical supplies, and does it seem to be a place where they could turn it into a full-blown facility if they need to?
Well, it already seems like it's turned into that. You might also be able to see over my shoulder the military aircraft that are on the ground here. We've been seeing them unload equipment and other types of goods off of that as well. We've also been able to tell you that about 10 o'clock tonight, there will be 100 National Guard military police who will be landing here at the airport. Basically, the entire airport is being used for these types of operations only. So I described it earlier as this once commercial airport being used for flights like Southwest, Delta, and that sort of thing. Right now, it looks very much like a military airfield.
Thanks very much, Ed Lavandera. Thanks, Ed. In Mississippi tonight, emergency food aid is not coming soon enough to citizens, and disturbing pictures tonight of starving people picking through a large pile of garbage for food. There are more than 20,000 people still in shelters in Mississippi. Many of those shelters do not have power or air conditioning, and emergency food aid has been slow to arrive in many Mississippi communities. Well, the federal government is mobilizing its disaster relief from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, about 80 miles away from New Orleans, and CNN's Deborah Fayrick is there. Deborah?
Well, Kitty, we're told that now as part of the relief effort, the government is sending the Conair 737s. Those are usually the planes that transport prisoners, but now they're going to be used to transport the stranded in New Orleans. We are told that they can accommodate about 130 people at a time, so that might speed up the efforts to evacuate the people who are in such desperate need. The question nobody can answer is why are none of these people getting any sort of food or water? There is a condition of lawlessness that exists right now. We're being told the governor saying that she is going to change that as of now. She's called in some 200 military police officers. They're going to be heading into New Orleans. Hundreds more are on the way. 250 police officers, including state troopers, are also going to go in to help out the local police, who have had the dual task of both trying to save people but also trying to keep the criminal element in check. And as a matter of fact, the governor saying 12,000 members of the National Guard are also going to be brought in, and that should help restore order to the streets. There have been reports of rioting. SWAT teams have been responding to calls that people are trying to break into hospitals, and so they're in place as well. The lieutenant colonel who sort of oversees operations for the state says they have part of the problem has been they simply have no place to put anybody they arrest, and that's why there have been so few arrests in New Orleans. That is about to change. In his words, he said, if we have to, we will put them in handcuffs and shackles, but we are going to take control back of New Orleans. So right now, that is the goal. That is the focus. They want to make sure that they can get their rescuers in safely. In the words of one state senator, it's pretty hard to rescue people when you're being shot at. Kitty?
Thanks very much, Deborah Fayrick. Thanks, Deborah. Well, many of the dramatic rescues we have seen in New Orleans involved helicopters from the USS Baton. This is the amphibious assault ship. It's the only U.S. Navy ship in the area right now. And joining us now is the commander of the Baton, Captain Nora Tyson. Now, Captain, first of all, where are you located?
Well, currently we're about 46 miles southeast of Gulfport. We headed up this way this morning, and our helicopters have gone in to Gulfport to help with some of the disaster relief in Mississippi. They've been operating over in New Orleans for the past couple of days, and this morning we got the call to send them up into Gulfport. So we have moved the ship up closer to Gulfport and Biloxi to support the operations up here.
What kind of resources do you have that you can offer to them?
Well, right now we have 2 MH-60 helicopters on board, and they are primarily search and rescue aircraft. And we also have 4 MH-53s that are primarily heavy lift and movers. They're moving people, they're moving supplies, water, food, anything that they can to help out in the effort. We've got a lot more Navy assets, aviation assets that are coming into Pensacola right now, and they'll be coming. Some of those will be coming out to us. Some of them will be staying on the beach and working on the beach. And then, of course, we've got several more Navy ships that are coming around here to join us in the next few days, and some of them will be going out to Iwo Jima and Harry S. Truman and Shreveport, Tortuga are some of the ships that are coming around here to join us.
All right, and not a moment too soon. Thank you very much for being with us this evening, Captain Nora Tyson of the USS Baton. Thank you. Coming up, the lives of New Orleans residents at risk tonight. When will they get emergency help? We'll talk to the head of FEMA. That's coming right up. Plus a look at the littlest victims of Hurricane Katrina. So many of those affected by this killer storm have been children. We'll have a special report on that. And gas lines growing. Charges tonight of oil company price gouging. President Bush says don't buy gas if you don't need it. Much more ahead as our coverage of this national tragedy continues. Stay with us.
90 notebooks, Wi-Fi enabled ASAP?
Right.
You just want me to make them appear now? All right.
바로 파코 아초.
I'm just kidding. I'll call CDW. You'll have your notebooks in no time.
Nobody responds like CDW. With access to the most technology in stock, you get what you need when you need it. CDW, the right technology, right away.
So you guys want me to conjure up some PCs too?
Imagine how much energy it takes to fuel an entire city of 1 million households, day and night, for 6 years. That's how much energy Kerr-McGee will recover from just one deep water field with just one production spar that produces offshore oil and gas where we couldn't before. Nobody delivers America's energy to Americans like the deep water explorers of Kerr-McGee.
CNN Tonight, as the death toll rises and conditions deteriorate in Hurricane Katrina's wake. The latest on desperate rescue efforts. Plus, stories of loss and survival from the killer storm's refugees. Larry King Live, CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Soledad O'Brien and Miles O'Brien every morning on CNN's American Morning, where real news makes the difference. CNN Tomorrow starts 7 a.m. Eastern.
Building a classic machine, stitching the stars and stripes. These are just a few of the jobs held by proud American craftsmen. So join me as I ramble around this great country of ours, talking to the people who put their hearts every day into a little label called Made in America.
John Ratzenberger's Made in America, Tuesdays at 9 on the Travel Channel.
Visit Olinger Travel Homes for a simply unbeatable deal on a new RV. 230th and TV Highway in Hillsboro and in Portland off I-84 exit 16.
What you wish you could do in real life, now you can do at VX.com. Roadmap to the automotive world.
In Katrina's deadly wake, CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
In Mississippi, the unofficial death toll has risen to 185. Now, dramatic video today showing the utter destruction of the town of Gulfport, Mississippi, which took a direct hit from Hurricane Katrina. Homes totally destroyed, damaged hotels, major roads totally collapsed. In Mississippi tonight, officials say they are in urgent need of medical personnel from other states, and about 75% of the state is still without power. Well, joining us now tonight from Biloxi, Mississippi is Randy Kay. Randy, what's it like there?
Kitty, it is still an absolute mess here. You drive through the streets, you can barely get through. Things that don't belong are now sitting on the corner here. We're on the corner of what used to be Highway 90. It's now a mess. This is a tractor that has somehow made its way over here and just jammed itself into the sand. If you look around, there's just somebody's eyeglasses here on the road. And over here is a huge chunk of cement. And what I'm standing on is actually a piece of the bridge from Highway 10, which came from all the way over there in the distance. That should give you an idea of the destruction here. So getting around the town of Biloxi, the city here, is just very, very difficult. I want to introduce you to a couple of folks who know that firsthand. Ashley Rogers and Andrea Jones, you have a hospice business here. Very important that you get to see your patients. What has it been like just getting around this area for you?
We've had to stop cars, walk past debris, trees, power lines to try to check on some of the patients that may have stayed, that houses have sustained damage. We're concerned for all of our patients and our nurses. We really need to try to get through all this damage and get to them to make sure they're safe.
You've been having to actually cut some of the wood out of the road to actually get there. Have you been able to find out exactly how all of your patients are doing?
We've found out about a few. Some have left, thank goodness. One we have heard has passed on, but we don't know whether it was from hurricane or the natural progression of their disease.
And what is it like for you, Andrea, just to get around here and see what's happened to your city of Biloxi?
It is absolute devastation, and it is so very difficult because you have your own grief to deal with, and also trying to find these people that you care for so much. And, you know, we just pray that we will find all of our hospice patients in time.
And what are you doing to get them medicine? I mean, these are people who have 6 months or less to live, as you told me. And what can you do to get them medicine and make sure that they can get through at least this time?
At this point, we're not really so sure about that. We're probably going to have to start making trips out of town. I think our first priority, of course, is to find out where the patients are so we can get them the medicine when we get it.
And Ashley, do you feel like you're getting the help that you need from FEMA and everybody else here on the ground, the National Guard, or do you feel like they're here and can you feel their presence in terms of getting what you need to help your patients?
We know that we have contacted FEMA, and we already have that in preparation. So we are thankful for FEMA. The roads, it's taking some time, of course. This one is one of the ones that they're cleaning up first, but there are some where all of our patients live that is on the back burner.
And you have a lot of patients in a lot of different counties in this area. Well, we wish you all the best of luck with your patients, and hopefully you'll get to them and find that they are all indeed doing well. Kitty, that is just one of the many desperate stories coming from you tonight here in Biloxi.
Thanks very much, Randy Kay. Thanks, Randy. Well, President Bush has named my next guest the principal federal officer in charge of Hurricane Katrina relief. Michael Brown is the director of FEMA. He joins us from Baton Rouge. And thanks for being with us and taking the time to actually speak to us tonight, sir.
My pleasure.
Your biggest challenge, and I must say everyone is saying, what is taking so long? What is the problem?
Well, let me put it in perspective. And I really want the American people to understand that this disaster is unlike any other disaster in the history of this country. And it's even unlike any other hurricane disaster that I've seen over the past several years. Hurricane Katrina struck and left, and that's what normally happens when we start our rescue and rebuilding efforts. What happened here is that we had a disaster that continued of catastrophic proportions. The levees began to break, and suddenly you have a great American urban area, the city of New Orleans, totally inundated, totally ruined, totally incapacitated. So what we're trying to do now is to basically work under conditions of urban warfare, of getting as many people in to help those who are stranded, who chose not to evacuate, who chose not to leave the city, of getting aid to them as rapidly as possible.
I guess the food drops and the water drops, why are they not coming more rapidly? Earlier in this broadcast, we showed pictures of people picking through garbage. It's dire for many people. Is it not possible to get food and water in more quickly?
Well, we do have food and water in. We're doing airlifts into the Superdome. We're doing airlifts into those parishes where they have dry land, where they can actually distribute water. But there's also a very interesting phenomenon occurring here, and that is that as we continue to evacuate people out of the Superdome, we're finding more and more people coming out of the woodwork, so to speak. They're appearing in places where we didn't expect them. They're appearing in places where we didn't know that they existed. We just learn almost hour by hour of a new pocket of people that have congregated somewhere. And so we have to start rescuing those and moving those to an evacuation center too. It's actually a very fascinating phenomenon that we're dealing with in New Orleans.
What's your estimate on how many people are still trapped in New Orleans?
You know, it's the question of the day. Because what we're finding is, as we evacuate and more of these people start to appear, there's no way to estimate. And I think what we're discovering is that now that the storm has passed, all of those who hunkered down and decided to ride out the storm and not evacuate are now beginning to come out of their homes. They're now beginning to move to higher ground, or if the storm waters have receded, they're coming down out of those second stories of their homes and making themselves known to us. It's like the waters have receded and suddenly people are appearing.
Michael Brown, we wish you every success. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, a hospital in New Orleans is under fire. Snipers attacked the hospital staff trying to evacuate sick patients. We'll talk to a doctor at Charity Hospital next. And then desperately needed supplies arrive via military transport planes to the New Orleans airport. We'll have a live report there. Stay with us.
CNN Primetime tonight, Katrina's aftermath.
People just trying to eat around here.
Search for survivors.
Now I have nothing. Just it.
Grim recovery efforts. And a city in crisis.
Talking about guns. Do we have a gun?
Special live coverage. CNN Primetime tonight, beginning at 7.
Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
There's a new synthetic in town, Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
You're about to see a meeting of one of the most powerful financial organizations in the world. It's backed by the resources and the credit rating of the world's largest wealth management firm. And it's meeting today to answer the most important question on its agenda.
So how am I doing?
Wealth management at UBS. From wealth preservation to lending and investment. You and us. UBS.
Cocoa. Rainbow wings. Check this out.
The new Swiffer Sweep and Vac picks up dust and hair with the cloth. Big stuff with the vac. Better than a broom and dustpan.
Is that amazing? For what?
Let me try that.
No. The new Swiffer Sweep and Vac. Stop cleaning. Get Swiffer. Go online for a money-saving coupon.
My Swiffer.
CNN Saturday night. Follow in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. The desperate preparations, devastating landfall, dramatic stories of survival. A special CNN presents Sudden Fury. CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
The devastation from Hurricane Katrina has already sent gasoline prices rising around the country. Now, it could also impact prices on coffee, poultry, other popular products for months. Christine Romans reports.
This devastation from Hurricane Katrina has crippled important supply lines for America's food and building materials. It may mean higher prices at your table, perhaps for months to come. 27% of this country's green coffee supplies, hundreds of thousands of bags, are feared spoiled in warehouses in New Orleans. Lumber on Gulfport docks destroyed. Lumber prices soaring. Half the world's zinc supplies are in New Orleans warehouses. Officials have not yet been able to inspect it. 3% of this country's poultry production is in the hurricane zone, devastated by power outages and tornadoes.
Most of the ports in the Gulf remain closed.
14,500 miles of inland waterways feed the New Orleans port complex. Those goods cannot be unloaded or processed. Rail freight channels along Katrina's path are paralyzed. America's grain supply, first damaged by drought, now by Hurricane Katrina.
Just a few weeks ago, the low water levels were not allowing barges to move through the Ohio down the Mississippi. Now, that has been forgotten because now, even if they could move on these low river levels, they have no place to go.
The Coast Guard reports at least 100 barges submerged or run aground in the lower reaches of the river, and numerous buoys, dam, and channel markers have been moved or destroyed.
Now, agriculture exports are the last vestige of U.S. export supremacy, and that, for now, is paralyzed. But right now, for exporters and port officials, the top priority, Kitty, is finding their lost workers. Hundreds and hundreds of workers in this industry simply disappeared.
Thanks very much, Christine Romans. Well, the Army Corps of Engineers says it could take as much as 6 months to drain all the floodwater from New Orleans. Now, the Army Corps has been working nonstop to fix broken levees, also prevent greater damage to the city. Joining me on the telephone, he's on his way to Port Allen, Louisiana, Army Corps of Engineer Action Officer Mike Zumstein. And thanks for being with us, Mike.
Thank you.
Let's first talk about the water situation in New Orleans, the breach in the 17th Street Canal. That's probably the most critical thing, and how is that going?
Okay, some of this information is a few hours old because obviously I am on the road and I'm proceeding to Port Allen, and communications we've been battling since the hurricane hit. My understanding is that the sandbagging was to resume early this morning. I can speak of what was going on over perhaps the last 24 hours and give you a clearer picture.
Okay.
We have a contractor on site right now who has mobilized his equipment with the intent to drive sheet pile and close off the mouth of the 17th Street Canal and also the London Avenue Canal. As of last night, we had sandbags that were being put in place. We had bobcats and small dozers on site also. We have flow coming out of the London Avenue Canal going into Lake Pontchartrain. And like I said, those are the variables that I do know. We also have the equipment to intentionally breach the levees in other parts of the parish, specifically St. Bernard Parish and also the lower 9th Ward, to eradicate the water that is in those areas.
So you basically punch holes in the levees to let it flow back out. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Right now, my understanding is, and like I said here again, and I apologize because, like I said, communications are a little bit difficult. I'm told that Jefferson Parish, for the most part, is fairly dry. So apparently not all of the cells have been inundated, the hurricane protection cells, as we call them. So it's, the timetable, therefore, will be different also. I was told also by our hydrologist that that Orleans Parish, the parish levy, the Orleans Parish Levy Board feels comfortable and that they will be able to get to their pumps fairly soon to go ahead and inspect them and ascertain what the damage level is and to bring them back online.
So 22 pumps basically get this city pumped dry, and you don't know how many are functioning, right?
Yes, ma'am. We don't know what the actual, we don't know actually if any damage has really occurred to them at all, or if this is just a matter of them needing perhaps fuel or electricity. We don't know the variables as far as what it's going to take to get them up and running again.
Okay, Mike.
But, however, they do feel comfortable that they can get there fairly soon.
Thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us. Mike Zumstein, Army Corps of Engineers. Thanks, Mike. We're joined now by Gary Tuckman. He's in Waveland, Mississippi, which is one of the hardest hit areas of the Gulf Coast. Gary?
Kitty, we come to you from our Hurricane 1 vehicle, which allows us to go live while we move down the street. We've seen a lot of devastated areas where we've been here the last 4 days, but there is no area that's more devastated than the one we're in right now. This is Waveland, Mississippi. This is Waveland Avenue. Everything has been knocked down on the street, which is a couple of blocks from the beach. You can see wood, you can see roofs, you can see cars, you can see the most intimate of people's personal belongings, and this street has been devastated. What I'm going to tell you is from here in Waveland, which is just to Biloxi, which is about 40 miles south, 40 miles to the east of here, you see neighborhoods where nothing is left standing. But what we're seeing here is an area where there were very large homes standing. Many of them were mansions. And you could see couches, you could see trees. The thing that's left intact are basically swimming pools. That's the only thing that we still see left intact. Throughout the day today, we've seen police officials and authorities on the scene. We did not see that at all on Tuesday or Wednesday. In this particular block right now, we see people from Orange County, Florida, who are helping out the situation here. So we see lots of people come back to their homes very despondent at what they've seen here in this part of Mississippi. Kitty, back to you.
Thanks very much, Gary Tuckman in Waveland, Mississippi. Thanks, Gary. Coming up, how the federal government and the military are responding to the crisis in the Gulf Coast. Also, we'll have a live report from an airport in New Orleans where medical workers say the words catastrophe and disaster don't explain the scene there. We'll talk with one doctor at a hospital that had to stop evacuating patients because of sniper fire. All that and more coming up. Stay with us.
This is Paul.
Guys, found the house.
He backtests moving averages differently than Raj, who drags and drops nothing like Ann, who trades options a lot more often than Hal, who places conditional orders differently than George, who celebrates in his own special way. And thanks to Fidelity Active Trader Services, they all get power, price, service, no compromises.
Let's go.
Trading with Fidelity. Smart move.
Sharp multifunction products transform the office by adding enhanced color to your documents. Then Sharp technology doubled your productivity by scanning two-sided documents in a single pass. Now Sharp's Data Security Kit is transforming the office again by preventing unauthorized access to information while keeping sensitive digital documents from falling into the wrong hands. The Sharp Digital Imager series, all the productivity you want, all the document security you need.
Now at CNN.com, Hurricane Katrina, the devastating aftermath, rescue and recovery, plus how you can help. Complete coverage of Hurricane Katrina's aftermath, now at CNN.com. CNN prime time tonight at 7. Grim recovery efforts and amazing rescues. Then at 8, worsening conditions in New Orleans. And at 10, on the front lines, fighting to save the drowning city, Katrina's aftermath. CNN tonight beginning at 7.
For tough stains, it's the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. It cleans food from the microwave and shoe scuffs from the floor. It erases soap scum from the bathtub. Then it's on to patio chairs and even car wheels. The Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Discover 1,001 places to clean. Pass it on.
Refugees from New Orleans began arriving today at the Astrodome in Houston, Texas. Dave Failing is with our Houston affiliate, KHOU, and he's there with the very latest on that. Dave?
Continue to stream in here now. Some 24 buses arriving right now. So many that the Houston paramedics have had to ask for reinforcements because as these people get off the buses, a lot of them do need medical care. And they're having an armada of ambulances come to the Astrodome to help take those folks that are in most dire medical need to nearby hospitals. The contrast could not be greater with the conditions over at the Super Bowl. Here at the Astrodome, it is air conditioned. They have clean cots in which to sleep. They've got showers for them, one or actually 2 hot meals a day, a cold lunch, cold drinks. So when you look around, it looks like in some ways game day here. People are obviously very relieved to be here. We don't know what the current tally is, but they're expecting that they can handle some 25,000 refugees here alone. Back to you, Kitty.
Dave, how long do they expect to keep people in that facility?
They say they don't want to do it for very long. They're being very forthright about that. This is clearly just temporary. They want it to be days or weeks, not months.
Thanks very much. Dave Failing from Houston. Thanks, Dave.
Sure thing.
We have a desperate, dangerous situation tonight at Charity Hospital in New Orleans. Doctors were trying to evacuate patients when snipers began shooting at them. And I'm joined now by the chief resident of neurosurgery at Charity Hospital, Dr. Michael Bellew. And Dr. Sanjay Gupta is also joining us. He is CNN's senior medical correspondent. Dr. Bellew, tell us what the situation was and why you think someone might have been shooting.
We have no idea why there's shooting of any kind. The situation, we've been without power for days. Our main generator failed early in the course, so we have a few backup generators, but for the most part, the hospital has been without electricity. And that included patients on ventilators. There were times where the nurses and respiratory therapists had to do double duty, bagging the patients just to keep them alive. We have some minimal capabilities now, but our priority was to try to get these patients out. We have the patients out of the hospital, but not to safety yet. A few have by private mechanisms gone off to outside hospitals. But we evacuated the majority of the ICU patients today. And my understanding is that they're actually still across the street at the helicopter pad, waiting to be picked up without any electricity. Again, being bagged to try to keep them alive until they can be picked up.
Explain that procedure for us, doctor. Not many people are familiar with that.
Sure. We the bagging you're talking about?
Yes, please.
Or the okay. Well, essentially, the patients are so ill they're unable to breathe on their own, and so we have ventilators which breathe for them, of course, requiring electricity. In a situation where you don't have any, they have mechanisms. These bags allow you to squeeze air into the patient's lungs to deliver oxygen and take out the waste product, the carbon dioxide. But that requires someone continuously squeezing the bag in and out, just like the patient's lungs would be doing if they were healthy.
Basically breathing for that person. Are you totally without power at this point?
Like I said, we have a few minimal backup generators, but for days we've been walking around the hospital with flashlights and rounding by flashlight. The nurse has been taking care of the patients by flashlight.
Mm-hmm. How long do you think, and I hate to ask, but how long do you think you can hold out?
I mean, really, for the patient's sake, really, they need to be evacuated immediately. The ICU patients are in that process, and I guess the sniper situation may be why they're still waiting for the helicopters to come in. That I'm not sure, because we don't have any communication with that group. But we still have 200 patients in this hospital. From what I understand, our sister hospital down the street, University Hospital, has 500 patients. Many of them needing care that they just can't get. Dialysis machines that would filter the blood like the kidneys are supposed to do. Babies, neonatal patients in the intensive care unit, all waiting to be rescued. The conditions are such that it's very dangerous for the patients. We're exposed to the elements. The windows and all the units are broken out or just open to try to reduce the temperature. So the nurses are sitting there fanning the patients. Just about all the patients on our services had fevers. Our toilets are overflowing. They're filled with stool and urine, and the smell, if you can imagine, is so bad. Many of us had gagged, and some people even threw up. It's pretty rough.
Dr.
So for the patients, in other words, they need to get out. Now the longer they stay here, the more they're exposed to these things. Then you also worry about cross contamination. Many of the sick patients have drug antibiotic resistant germs. And, we have really minimal methods to, wash our hands. We have sanitary antibacterial lotion. We wear gloves, but, there's really no situation. It's not a good situation from that standpoint.
Dr. Bellew, we sympathize with you enormously, and your patients are very lucky to have someone like you with them. Thank you for joining us this evening, Dr. Michael Bellew. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for trying to help us get our patients to a place where I think the coverage.
That was Dr. Michael Bellew. Congress returning early from its vacation in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. The Senate is expected to convene as early as tonight for a special session. The House of Representatives will meet tomorrow. And meanwhile, the White House has enlisted former Presidents Bush and Clinton to raise money for the victims of the hurricane. Suzanne Malveaux reports from the White House. Suzanne?
Well, Kitty, they were so successful when it came to tsunami relief, raising about $1 billion or so. President Bush, of course, enlisting his father as well as the help of former President Clinton in this private relief effort. The president, of course, also dealing with the economic impact of this, meeting with the Federal Reserve Chair Alan Greenspan, his economic team, also asking Congress for that $10.5 billion emergency aid package. The president today specifically acknowledged this temporary disruption in the oil supply, the nation's oil supply, because of the hurricane, and he issued and actually urged people to conserve.
Steps we're taking will help address the problem of availability, but it's not going to solve it. Americans should be prudent in their use of energy during the course of the next few weeks. Don't buy gas if you don't need it.
Now, Kitty, I also had an opportunity to speak with both President Clinton as well as President H.W. Bush about the criticism of this administration. Many say that they'd moved just too slowly, but both of those presidents today defended this administration's actions.
I believe the administration is doing the right thing, and I believe they have acted in a timely fashion. And I understand the people being critical. That happens all the time. And I understand some people wanting to make, a little difficulty by criticizing the president and the team.
And Kitty, tomorrow President Bush travels to the damaged region, of course, Alabama, Mississippi, as well as New Orleans. He'll chopper overhead. He's also expected to be on the ground to see it firsthand. Kitty?
Thanks very much, Suzanne Malveaux. Thanks, Suzanne. Still ahead, I'll speak with one science editor who warned this hurricane disaster in New Orleans. He warned about it back in 2001. He's our guest when we return. Also, with fuel shortages, soaring gas prices, are we facing an energy crisis? We'll have a special report on that.
I'm Lindsay Wagner. You know, for years, I used to wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning. I'd check the clock, switch positions, go back to sleep, and I just thought that was normal. Sound familiar? Yeah. Well, if you're looking for a better night's sleep, I really encourage you to learn more about the Sleep Number bed. It's the only bed I know of that lets you adjust firmness to exactly what your body needs for personalized comfort. It's your Sleep Number.
When I wake up in the morning after sleeping on my Sleep Number bed, I just feel completely rested, refreshed, rejuvenated. I'm just ready to go about my day.
So call us right now for this free DVD or video and brochure with complete details, options, and prices. What's most remarkable to me is this bed's ability to conform to the unique curves of your body. I feel as though my spine is more properly supported, which helps my whole body relax, and I fall asleep quicker and I sleep better.
It keeps and maintains the natural curve in the lower back and the natural curve in the neck, therefore keeping the spine in a neutral position.
This is now the only bed that I recommend to my patients.
In clinical studies, 89% of participants reported improved sleep quality on a Sleep Number bed. And if you suffer from back pain, 93% reported relief. The Sleep Number bed is perfect for couples because firmness adjusts independently, and it's like having 2 beds in one. It costs about the same as an ordinary innerspring, but it lasts twice as long. Don't be fooled by imitators. There's only one authentic Sleep Number bed. It can really make a difference. Give us a call today.
Call 1-800-530-5757 for your free information kit with DVD or video, brochure, and price list. There's only one authentic Sleep Number bed, and it's a Consumer Digest Best Buy. Call 1-800-530-5757. Ask about our risk-free 30-night in-home trial. Sleep Number beds are easy to own. Queen-size sets are as low as $20 a month. Discover why over 3 million have switched to the Sleep Number bed by Select Comfort. That's 1-800-530-5757. Call now.
My next guest is the author of an article in 2001 in Scientific American predicting a hurricane disaster in New Orleans. And he said, New Orleans is a disaster waiting to happen, and a direct hit is inevitable. And now many are asking why his warnings were not heeded and if the disaster could have been prevented. Joining me now is Mark Fischetti. He's contributing editor at Scientific American magazine. And Mark, I want to read a quote that you told us a little earlier today. You said, on Sunday night I felt sick because I was aware of what could happen, and I thought to myself, people don't really understand what's coming. What a horrible feeling. Why don't you think that people really understood the magnitude of what was happening?
I think there's been a lot of prediction about hurricanes hitting New Orleans, but it hasn't had a direct hit. So there's, you know, and it's human nature to sort of think, well, we got away with it, we'll get away with it again.
Mm-hmm. What about prevention? What do you think we should have done, and what should we do now?
In 1998, there was a plan put together. Scientists, engineers, local state politicians finally came together and basically agreed on a plan to protect New Orleans. It was a lot of money. It would have been a $14 billion effort, but it essentially would have safeguarded the whole city and rebuilt the Delta at the same time. Too much for one state. They went to the federal government and essentially weren't heard.
Yeah. $14 billion, basically rebuilding the barrier islands and some sea gates. Is that right? That's the prescription?
Right. The three main measures would be to rebuild the marshland, the delta south of New Orleans to cut down the sea surge from a hurricane coming from the south. Also rebuild barrier islands. This could all be done naturally, by the way, by letting the Mississippi flow out that way. Mm-hmm. And then finally, the Gulf flows up into Lake Pontchartrain, this huge lake right north of the city, and the storm surge flows into the Gulf, and from the Gulf into the lake threatens to flow over into the city. So these gates, the channel that connects the lake and the Gulf is actually fairly small. The gates could close off if the storm were coming. Those very gates are actually in place in the Netherlands to keep back the North Sea, so it's something certainly doable.
Very viable. Well, thanks for explaining it to us, Mark Fischetti. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
The disaster on the Gulf Coast has caused gas prices across the country to soar. Prices for a gallon of gas have topped $6 in some area. And now the Bush administration is taking steps to speed up the movement of crude oil and refined products across the country. Bill Tucker reports.
Faced with tight supply, low inventories, and panicked motorists, President Bush took action for the second day in a row to get refined petroleum products to market.
Under current law, shipping between American ports can only take place on American ships. And there are currently not enough American ships to move the oil and gasoline to where it's needed.
The law prohibiting that has been waived, and all three major pipelines moving refined products and crude are now partially up and running. The Colonial and the Plantation lines, which supply gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and home heating oil to the south, southeast, mid-Atlantic, and northeast, are making limited deliveries. The Capline pipeline, which supplies crude to refineries in the Midwest, offering limited service. None of this came a minute too soon for the airline industry, which currently has a week and a half to 2 weeks worth of fuel available.
I'm trying to walk the line between making sure I'm not an alarmist and expressing some very serious reservations that we have, that we need to get this supply back online as quickly as possible.
But there was bad news as well. Originally, reports were that 8 refineries were shut down. That number is now 10, and it is not certain when the more badly damaged refiners will be back up in producing.
To have a significant amount of refining capacity down. And that happened at a time when stocks were already low. And that capacity you have lost for a good month, at least.
The experts say we've probably lost 1.5 million barrels of production a day for an indefinite period of time. Which unfortunately means it will continue to cost more to fill up your car or your truck, and it will cost more to heat your home. Supply is not short. It is, however, tight. And Kitty, this may sound terribly trite, but the best thing that people can do is not panic and simply drive less and conserve. It'll cost them less money in the end.
Very sensible. Thanks very much, Bill Tucker. Well, still to come, a look at one of the most vulnerable groups of victims in Hurricane Katrina. We'll have a special report.
Tonight, as the death toll rises, the latest on desperate Hurricane Katrina rescue efforts, plus first-hand accounts from refugees. Larry King Live, CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Is underactive thyroid function keeping you fat?
Underactive thyroid function caused by crash diets or unbalanced weight loss programs can slow your metabolism and make losing weight almost impossible. But now there's Thyron ATC, safe, effective weight loss with the thyroid support you need. Face it, poor thyroid function is a diet killer. It can sabotage any weight loss plan. That's why there's Thyron ATC. Finally, safe, effective weight loss. Thyron ATC, the weight loss you want with the added support you need. Thyron ATC, it works, really works.
Call in the next 15 minutes and find out how you can receive a bonus bottle of Thyron ATC absolutely free. Call 1-800-278-7710. That's 1-800-278-7710. Thyron ATC, the weight loss you want plus the thyroid support you need. Order now. Supplies are limited.
Thyron ATC, see the difference, feel the difference. You won't be disappointed.
Parkinson's disease. Most people think it strikes just the elderly.
But they are wrong.
Someday it might affect your family.
Someday it might affect you. But there is hope.
To find out how you can help, call Parkinson's Resources of Oregon at 1-800-426-6806.
I just got this file today. We need more time.
You've had this case for over 3.5 years.
And I'm about to lose my home.
She should call 1-800-LAW-CASH. Do you have a lawsuit? Do you need money? 1-800-LAW-CASH will get you money right now. Don't wait for your case to settle. Call 1-800-LAW-CASH. If you lose your case, you owe LAW-CASH nothing. You or your attorney should call 1-800-LAW-CASH today. We're waiting for your call.
In Katrina's deadly wake, CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
Tonight, a look at the most vulnerable victims of Hurricane Katrina, the children. Now, thousands of them were left completely defenseless in this horrific tragedy. Lisa Sylvester has the report.
In the pictures, it's hard to miss them, the children waiting for help. They have been lifted off rooftops. Their parents have carried them to safety. Others waded through water, the youngest victims of Hurricane Katrina. Outside the New Orleans Convention Center, without water or food, some seem oblivious to their plight. Others all too aware.
We want help!
They have been exposed to destruction and death. Their parents are powerless to make it better.
For children, feeling secure and safe is, very important. And now all the things that anchor them in the world and make them feel safe are gone. Their house, their neighborhood, their friends, relatives, other people. They're going to strange places. This is very disorienting. And it's those tangible things in life that make them feel safe.
Even the children who escaped the city face a long-term impact. Sick infants and toddlers were airlifted to hospitals in other states. But it wasn't an easy trip for some. Robin Norwood's son, Nash, has leukemia.
They had to evacuate us upstairs because shooting was taking place at the helicopters that were trying to take our children to safety. And, we felt pretty much like we were hostages.
A life-changing event for the children.
When something like this happens, our sense of safety and security is shaken. And what we're looking for is to regain any semblance of control, any semblance that the world can right itself again.
But it could be months for these children before their world feels right again. Mental health experts advise parents with children in the shelters to try to maintain as much of a routine as possible, for instance, telling their kids bedtime stories at night, and perhaps most importantly, as difficult as it is, to try to stay calm because children are looking to their parents for strength. Kitty?
All right, thanks very much, Lisa Sylvester. Well, still ahead, how the military is supporting the relief effort for the victims of Hurricane Katrina. We'll talk with General David Grange about that. Stay with us.
CNN Primetime tonight, Katrina's aftermath.
People just trying to eat around here.
Search for survivors.
Now I have nothing. Just it.
Grim recovery efforts. And a city in crisis.
Talk about guns. Do we have guns? Do we have a gun?
Special live coverage. CNN Primetime tonight, beginning at 7.
Last weekend of summer, but that's no reason for the summer breezes to end.
The Home Depot can help. Right now, get 20% off every ceiling fan in the store. Beautiful designs from the best brands like Hunter and Hampton Bay, America's #1 ceiling fan. And now through Labor Day, get no payments and no interest for 12 months store-wide when you use your Home Depot or Expo consumer credit card. Summer is slipping away. Make the most of it.
At the Home Depot, you can do it. We can help.
21st century trading is all about vision. Can you clearly see what the market is doing? That's why we created QuoteScope. Now watch level 2 data like never before. Spot current trends and trade with one click for just $10.99 per internet equity or options trade with 75-cent options contract fees. It's the 21st century. Trade like it. Join Ameritrade today and get up to 35 commission-free internet equity trades plus $100 cash back.
You make a living by what you get and a life by what you give. That's why you'll find us helping our neighbors fix up their homes, or study after school for a physics test, or get ready for Mrs. Quinlan's first grade class. Because the men and women of Lockheed Martin believe that giving back is the very best way forward.
Only Pure has a 3-stage filter for clean, refreshing water. Stage 1 filters sediment. Stage 2 reduces contaminants like lead, pesticides, cysts, and chlorine taste. And Stage 3 filters over minerals. So the only thing you'll notice is the great taste. Pure is available in faucet mounts and pitchers for under $50. Also look for Pure inside select Delta faucets and Whirlpool refrigerators. Pure water filters. Your water should be pure.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Freedom, the one-application hemorrhoidal cream.
Freedom, the only one-application hemorrhoidal cream. Freedom, the only one-application hemorrhoidal cream. Freedom, the only one-application hemorrhoidal cream.
Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff says there are nearly 3,000 National Guard troops in New Orleans tonight, thousands more on the way to Louisiana and Mississippi. Well, joining me now for more on the military response to this disaster is General David Grange. Thanks for being with us. You know, much discussion about how slow the mobilization was. What's your view, General?
Well, I think they're moving pretty fast. It doesn't seem that way if you're one in a disaster situation. But you remember, you have to pick National Guardsmen and women out of the private sector, out of their jobs, assemble them, transport them, brief them up in the situation, and deploy them into an area, in many cases not by vehicle, but by boat or helicopter or other means because of the water problems. So it's not easy to do. But it's critical that the more you have on the ground early on, of course, the more rule of law you have in the area, and you can protect citizens from those that wish to do them harm, and regrettably, we have that.
As more military move in, will we get a situation that stabilizes? Do they have the special skills to take charge of this situation?
I believe so. Many of the National Guardsmen are military police or have engineering skills, those type of things that are critical